secondary, I think, is where it's going to be better. Where we worry about those safety positions. Now, I know there's potential walk-on that's starting, right?
Right.
But if
Will
you got
Brooks at safety,
if you got young guys behind them, to your point, and they feel like they have the depth back there, I think they're in a better spot than most going to give them credit for. Now, they're going to be tested. If I was anybody coming into Kent State, of course, they have to try to air it out, right, to keep up with the pace. I'm just naming one team in general. I think North Carolina State's going to have a solid quarterback this year, a solid team in general. Plus, it's a home game essentially for them. That defense, I'm telling you, is going to be a highlight. And I'll even say this so much. I think Nico's a main star in this movie.
For sure.
But I think it's going to be more about everybody around him than it is him. I don't think Heupel's going to allow him to – or no, I'll change that even more. I don't think Nico's going to allow himself to be the one that's first up in line as far as who gets the praise.
Yeah, I'm not going to be as worried about Nico. My worry with Nico is what happens if one of those starting 5 offensive linemen goes down. Mm-hmm. And really, it's more like a win one of those 5 offensive linemen go down, because no one finishes the season with the same 5 totally healthy the entire year that when they started the season. That is the concern about this entire Tennessee team to me, more so than the secondary, is the depth behind the starting 5, or maybe let's say the starting 6, because you still got an ongoing competition at left guard on that offensive line, because they're going to play a couple of guys there. But we saw how much better this offense was when Cooper Mays was back last season. And that, to me, is the thing to watch.
I was going to ask you, which position the most, though, of the 5? Center.
Center, the one what do you mean?
As far as worries you the most. If one went down.
Past injuries.
Yeah. I think I can live with a right guard.
For me,
down.
it's more the tackles. You don't have as much
tackles.
experience at tackle behind Lance Hurd and John Campbell.
That's facts.
John Campbell is 78 overall on NCAA football. Just absolutely ridiculous. 615-737-1045 is our number. Coming up. What are you talking about?
Just a NCAA game.
It's a game that sweep the nation. Yeah.
I'm just saying, you got to get one in every hour.
An update to the worst national anthem of all time. And I still feel like we're being mean.
No,
that's coming up next.
We aren't.
It's Ramon Foster here for Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Letting you know, my friends at Hiller, man, they're celebrating 34 years in business this year. I don't think y'all understand how big of a feat that is, man. That's huge, man. Most businesses go out within like the first couple of years, and they've been here for 34 so far. And they also want to celebrate with you this month. It's their birthday bash, all right? Until the end of July. You can get a free smart thermostat with select new HVAC systems, free water tests on your water inside your home. You can also get free leak detection and shutoff valves with tankless water heaters. And if you buy 10, you get 2 free landscaping lights, and they will also help you install them. Celebrate Hiller's birthday bash all of this month until July 31st. You can visit at happyhiller.com today for details. Buying a diamond if you're not properly educated is hard. If you're not careful, you'll overpay big time. Small variations in diamonds, quality, specs can make a huge difference in its value. That's why I always recommend Genesis Diamonds. Genesis Diamonds education is second to none. They will teach you the secrets of the industry. They will explain how diamonds are priced on the world market. Their non-commissioned experts will make you a savvy buyer, even if you decide to shop somewhere else. These days, this is so important, especially if you're considering buying a lab-grown diamond. Let Genesis reveal the truth behind the secret trend and show you all the info on how lab-grown diamonds are being overpriced in so many places. Bottom line, Genesis is your source for the best information as well as the best value for both natural and lab-grown diamonds. Whether you are buying a diamond for the first time or upgrading to a large, rare investment-grade diamond, Genesis will make sure you don't make a mistake. Genesis Diamond, where the focus is always on honesty, transparency, education, quality, and value. Don't buy a diamond until you learn the ins and out from Genesis. They're located in Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Well, there's an update to the story on the national anthem heard around the world by dogs everywhere. It's Ramon, Kayla, and Will wrapping up hour number one. 615-737-1045 is our number. We played some of the audio yesterday from Ingrid Andres' Home Run Derby national anthem. I saw more of this anthem than I did actual home runs during the Home Run Derby, which shows you how much that's fallen over time. 32-year-old announces yesterday that she was intoxicated and will be checking herself into a facility yesterday to, quote, get the help I need. Adding, that was not me last night. I apologize to MLB, the fans, and this country I love so much for that rendition.
You got to add in the last part.
What's the last part?
By the way, wish me luck. I heard rehab was fun.
Yes.
I don't like the way that ended.
Yeah, that's corny.
I didn't like it. I thought it was, the apology, that's fine. And I accept that. But the way you ended it, I don't know. It makes you kind of question the entire statement as a whole. And I want to say this first and foremost, and I'm very serious about this. If she truly needs help, alcoholism is a very, very real thing. If she needs the help, I am happy for her and I support her 100% for getting that help or acknowledging that she has an issue, if that is the case. I also question the entire situation. It's just such a weird situation that she put herself in first and foremost. Like, if she's a star, right? She's a Grammy Award winner. She's a country
Nominated.
star.
Yeah.
Grammy nominated. Excuse me. Thank you for that. And you're singing the national anthem, which already is one of the hardest things to sing ever. It is, point blank. And if you are going to use alcohol before, which, by the way, a lot of singers that go on and do performances, they have maybe a shot or something, or maybe some have a drink on stage. But to get to that point, if that even were a thing, you'd know, like, I can't perform if I'm that intoxicated. Like, she should know that. She's a performer. And to do it, like you said, with the national anthem, that represents the country. Yeah. And so that just making the mistake, like, that's hard for me to be like, okay, even if you do have a reason, it's hard for me to accept on that stage. But I do accept it if it's actually something that she needs help with. But also, when you drink and stuff, like, you would think her words would be messed up with the national anthem, because that is a tricky thing. I messed them up sober when I sang it in my high school. Yeah. So you'd think she'd mess the words up. She didn't mess the words up. I mean, she knew the words to the song. The whole thing is so weird for me still.
It ain't weird. It was just super unprofessional. That's what it was. It was immature, and it was selfish of her to actually go out there and do it like that on that stage. Like, the MLB is, I don't know if they paid her, as the fact that you're supposed to get paid from that because of how you're supposed to perform it, because it's name recognition and you get a platform to throw it on. The joke at the end, I heard rehab was fun. No, don't do that for the people that are actually suffering through stuff. That's my thing, is there's people, to your point, that actually suffer from alcoholism. There's people that actually suffer from just the stigmas that they can't get rid of, family issues that they've had before. And rehab it's not a joke. And that's where, to me, I didn't agree with the last part of that statement. It was immature is where I would put it, and very unprofessional. For as hard as it is for people to make it in those industries, and I know women go through a lot to get to the top, whether it's music, entertainment, sports, don't matter. She somewhat gave it a little bit of a black eye. That's where it is for me. And especially as national as we can be, as patriotic as we can be, the jokes behind it and the unseriousness of it, when you got kids watching it and then she comes out and say, oh, I was drunk, but somewhat laugh about it, just bad representation. Her crew need to do a real nice cleanup job for her. Is she talented? Probably so. You heard it come through in some of the words.
And I've heard her music, and she has a great voice, like, from what I've heard with her music.
But it's you can't do it on that stage. It's one thing to say, I'm going to do my own Fergie thing or Carl Lewis thing, but it to be like that, that's just not cool. And, I mean, that's not all right.
Bam in Nashville, 615-737-1045. What's up, Bam?
Yo, what's good, man? Everybody doing all right?
We're good, man. Good morning.
Man, listen, from a producer standpoint, I've produced a lot of records and a lot of different, done a lot of live shows and stuff, and stills and stuff. Bro, there's no reason why her performance shouldn't have been pre-recorded. Just about everything that you see on TV is pre-recorded for stuff like this. Like, if artists touring or if it's a major, they try to, alleviate any type of mess up like that. Prime example, the Alicia Keys thing. Mm-hmm. When she cracked the next day, when it was on iTunes, they auto-tuned correctly. You know what I'm saying? Wow. But all of Usher's stuff was stemmed out. So I don't know why her management decided to let her go out. Even a lot of the national anthems are pre-recorded for that particular reason. But for her to do that, to go, I don't know if that was a publicity stunt, trying to I ain't gonna say save face, because to me it made the situation worse. But yeah, that just kind of was a whole thing all the way around that just wasn't that just wasn't sweet all the way around, man. But from a production standpoint, they should have had her pre-recorded. She should have sung it down, and then everything would have been cool, no matter how, how drunk she may have been.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah. And I know it's frowned upon sometimes to lip sync. Look, a lot of people do it. It happens all the time. And that would have been better than just taking the risk of that.
I have sung the national anthem at a Major League Baseball game before, and it was pre-recorded.
Okay.
Yeah. It was 2010, I believe.
Did you go out there and they were pre-recorded it? Okay.
Yep.
Got it.
Interesting note from the ESPN article. It says she's the daughter of former Major League strength and conditioning coach Brad Andrus.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
Worked for the Detroit Tigers, Colorado Rockies, and New York Mets.
Did not know that.
Saw that last night, too.
Get there.
Nepotism.
How much of the All-Star games y'all watched last night?
Not much.
I did. I watched a good bit. Yeah, it was actually, I thought it was pretty good. The young pitchers, man. Mason
Miller. Oakland Athletics.
103.9.
You wouldn't know because he is an Oakland Lay.
It was a ball, though.
He's him, for sure.
Averaging 101 pitch.
Yeah, he's good.
Oh, my God.
No,
very good.
The AL completely continues to dominate this All-Star.
That was beautiful.
I used to love the All-Star games so much. Can't watch it anymore.
I think you got different interests. It's still just as entertaining. That's the way I was with certain stuff.
I was just so damn tired from staying up the night before with the home run derby.
Boycott the terrible jerseys they wear every single year.
See, I didn't like them either.
Awful.
The brown was okay. I liked it on Aaron Judge, but I thought overall the black turquoise ones were not great.
615-737-1045 is our number. 4 more teams making the rounds this morning at SEC Media Days. Who has the most interesting storylines? We'll talk about that next.
It's Ramon and Kayla here for Window Nation. Kayla, man, it's hot out here, all right? And some days, well, I'll say this, last night was a little cool. So whatever cold air you had, you needed to stay in with Window Nation windows, man, because if you got old, inefficient windows, they're probably costing you hundreds of dollars a year in energy bills, man. And Window Nation, they are truly window experts. Window Nation professional installation teams, Kayla, have over 10 years experience. Cool thing is, 90% of the windows they install require no follow-up service.
Exactly. You've got to love that. And guess what? They've installed over 200,000 windows just last year alone. That's 40 times more than the average window company. So they know how to do it, and they do it well. You can trust us. You can also go online and look at their 20,000 online positive reviews. Look, it's trusted by over 200,000 homeowners. So go ahead and do the right thing this summer. Save some money. Keep that energy in, whether it be the AC now or the heat that you'll need in the winters to come. Call our friends at Window Nation 866-90Nation or simply go online to windownation.com.
Tell them.
What's going on? 702. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. 50 days until the first game of the 2024 season in the NFL, starting to ramp up. First with the Broncos getting an extension done with standout guard Quinn Miners, agreed to terms on a massive 4-year deal, $80 million, including $45 million guaranteed. Miners' senior season was canceled due to COVID at Wisconsin Whitewater. Late add to the Senior Bowl. Now he's one of the highest paid guards in the league. Brandon Ayuk has formally requested a trade from the 49ers. Other teams that have reached out and spoken to San Francisco have been told that the 49ers have no intention of trading the disgruntled wide receiver. After putting the trade request in, the 49ers were prompted to remind people of the past, how they have had players who have requested trades, Deebo Samuel, Robbie Gould, and all of those players were retained with new deals. And the Titans' Week 1 opponent just locked up its first 2 first-round picks, signing both Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze to their rookie contracts. The Bears rookies reported a training camp yesterday. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
$7 a.m. in Nashville, and hour number 2 begins in the middle of your week. Ramon, Kayla, and Will. RKW 615-737-1045. I want you to put the word out there that we're back up on YouTube. Technical issues no more. Facebook Live, YouTube, and Twitch. That is where you join us. Thank you, Stringer Bell. 615-737-1045, the number. Coming up, we're going to talk about a Titans topic. Look at the wide receiver position beyond 2024. I've got 3 options for you, 3 veteran wideouts. We'll prioritize which of these 3 options are most realistic in light of recent news yesterday that Brandon Ayuk of the San Francisco 49ers wants out in San Fran. That's coming up in 15 minutes. Guys, this morning, Alabama, Mississippi State, Florida, and Texas at SEC Media Days. If you're asking one question of one of these teams, who would you go to the podium to chat with today?
Probably Florida.
Ooh, really?
Not the team I would have expected.
No, Florida's got a lot. Florida.
No, I'm not saying they don't.
If Florida doesn't catch up, they're going to get left behind. I know that NIL has had some issues, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think Billy Napier is too much worried about him. At least that's what he said publicly, right? I think they've been sued by a guy that's at Georgia right now, former quarterback. But is Florida. How do you keep up with the arms races of everybody else? Now, again, I don't follow Florida intently, but watching Napier having to actually win this year and the schedule that they have, like Florida has a brutal schedule. The management of it, what steps did they take to get better, and how does he feel about his security? I think somebody just need to be that guy and ask him, how secure are you in your job this year with the schedule that you have and the quarterback play? That's what I would like to know from him this year. And he ain't going to give me the answer.
No, I mean, at least maybe somebody can ask it, unlike asking, Kirby about the driving situation yesterday. But that's another story for another day.
He did address that,
and I know he did later on. Yes. Yep. So Texas and Alabama. Who do I pick? Because I have questions for both. But I'll go with Texas since they're the newcomer, and I always like the initiation process. And look, when you are a newbie coming into a big boy conference, there's going to be questions. And I'm not saying Texas is not up for the task, but Texas also has to prove that it can do it consistently on a week-to-week basis in terms of this type of schedule and these types of teams you'll be facing. Look, this is not the Big 12 anymore. This is the SEC. This is the big boys. Yeah. And Steve Sarkisian in Texas might have run the Big 12 the last couple of years, but now they've got to do it at a different level. And I think that's the biggest question I would have for Steve Sarkisian. Yes, you have the talent. Yes, you've proven you are a really good team. But how do you do it week in and week out now with the grueling, schedules that is the SEC. And, how are you going to be able to stay at the top consistently? Because that is also something that is very hard to do.
Well, I think you start with the production they have back. Texas signed the number one receivers off of 3 different Power 5 teams. Isaiah Bond comes over from Alabama. Matthew Golden, the number one receiver at Houston last season, and Oregon State's Silas Bolden. So that trio will be as good as it gets within the Southeastern Conference. But the offensive line coming back and returning 4 starters on a group that has not been the strength of Texas teams under Steve Sarkisian, I think is noteworthy. Kelvin Banks, a guy who will garner preseason All-American consideration and Pick 6 Previews, the great magazine I use as my resource, writes about that. I think for Florida as well, you look in the trenches for them, they have got to fix the issue of having one of the worst offensive lines in the SEC last season. And the pressure rate that they allowed was amongst the highest amount of SEC offensive lines. They have added considerable talent. 2 starting tackles, one from Arkansas, one from San Diego State, and then the number one transfer lineman in the entire 2024 recruiting class, and Jason Zandamela coming over from USC. I think that is the question for all these teams, guys, is how do you protect your quarterback? Yeah. I think that's the theme between Texas, Florida, and Alabama, the 3 of the contenders, obviously, of the 4 talking today. Because for Tyler Booker, the offensive lineman who's got preseason All-American hype for Alabama, Cade Proctor comes back after his cup of coffee literally in Iowa. But that is the major concern and major question for Alabama, because that was the weakness on that Alabama team last season, the ability to protect Jalen Milroe.
Yeah.
And what's so fascinating about it, now we got to root for him, but that was the game, I felt like the Tennessee game, where J.C. Latham just took another step. I felt like they were just... Tennessee bring the best out of folks at times, okay? And it's probably hate-filled, and I enjoy that. It should be, okay? But
in that rivalry, definitely. Yes.
It does, but that was the game where you saw them, turn it on. From the first half to the second half, that offensive line got good. The games before that, Alabama, I felt like, was giving it up. Like they were, Milroe was everywhere, and people were getting to him, and they settled in, hunkered down, and made it happen. I thought that season from that game elevated itself even more. Just real quick, too, on the Florida schedule thing that I'm bringing up with them, with the issues that they have with protection. Miami spent a boatload of money.
Miami has a legitimate top 10 to 15 roster in college football, and people are going to turn their nose up at that just because they haven't been that team previously, but that's not those players' fault.
No.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about Texas, too. Like, you've got a couple programs that are kind of back to their strong selves, and on paper should be excellent. And Miami on paper should be very good this year.
They should be. Okay, so they open up with Miami. Sanford, okay, they should get this one. A&M, I think they're probably tit for tat as far as competition goes.
Yeah, it's an even game.
Even game. They got to go to Mississippi State. And then Alex Golesh at UCF. He's got 2 SEC. He's trying to build a program down there, ain't he?
UCF is Gus Malzahn.
Gus Malzahn? Oh, it's even worse then.
That's not an easy.
USF.
You know who UCF's quarterback is?
God.
You know him. Bert's nodding his head. He knows.
No, it ain't Caden. No. Who is it?
Kayla? Anyone? KJ Jefferson is the quarterback at UCF.
Oh, shoot. Arkansas transfer.
Arkansas transfer.
Wow,
UCF
that's
will be
right.
good. And there's a lot riding on that because Florida does not play series with in-state Florida schools. Yeah. It does not happen.
Yeah.
And I think they got 3 of them this year,
other than FSU, of course.
So UCF won't be a cakewalk. They got to go to Tennessee. Kentucky always has Florida number. They always have them.
That's more of a recent thing because that was, I think, other than Tennessee's win streak over Kentucky, that was one of the longest win streaks in America was Florida over Kentucky until... about 5 years ago?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
But they get their best shot every time.
Every single time. So Georgia, that one, they got to go to Texas versus LSU, and this sucks for them. But senior day is versus Ole Miss. And then they close out with Florida State.
The last 5 weeks of their season, Georgia at Texas, LSU, Ole Miss at FSU. That is as tough as it gets in college football.
Yeah. That's serious.
And if they don't start off well, too, I just wonder, too, with Billy. I just called
Billy
him Billy
Napier.
Donovan, almost Billy
Oh,
Napier.
please don't call him
I
Donovan.
know, right? I just wonder too, like, can he even withstand the whole season if they are that bad even coming out of the
emotional.
gates?
Yeah, he'll get emotional. Do I think they have the outfit to compete? Yes. But
Sure.
that
And
last
they're
five
Florida.
and that first game, of course, it's going to be fascinating. And they don't have a cakewalk at all. They simply don't.
No. And if you don't get better by the time you hit that grueling stretch at the end, you're screwed.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You got the 5-star quarterback in DJ Lagway
Sure.
waiting in the wings, but and Graham Mertz statistically was outstanding last season
Stay
for Florida.
healthy.
But in the past 2 seasons, they've had the 7th best recruiting class in the SEC. Starting to slip away a little bit.
And that's where the arms race conversation come for him.
And
I
that-
think
yeah.
if they hadn't beaten Tennessee, Billy Napier might not be the coach of Florida right now.
See how he celebrated afterwards?
Yeah.
I mean,
He
you
knew
can
how
tell
big
a
it
lot
was.
in those moments. Yeah,
Sure.
100%.
615-737-1045. Brandon Ayuk wants out in San Francisco. Should the Titans be interested in the short or long term? We'll dive into that next. Hey, it's Will Bowling here for my friends at Lee Company. You hear me talk about these guys and what it's like to put Lee Company on your team and stay ahead of the game with home maintenance, repairs, and more. Look, in a climate that is as unpredictable as Middle Tennessee's, this is a fantastic offer. For $12 per month, you can sign up for the Lee Company Home Maintenance Plan and receive 4 visits to your home every year by an experienced technician. Let the Lee Company professionals keep your air conditioning, heating, plumbing, and electrical systems in tip-top shape. You're going to stay ahead of Mother Nature when you put Lee Company on your team with the home maintenance plan for the low price of just $12 a month. 615-567-1000. You got to learn more at leecompany.com or give them a call. 615-567-1000. Your AC, heating, plumbing, and electrical systems all taken care of by Lee Company. Online at leecompany.com. That's Lee Company. All you need. Less than 1 week until Titans Training Camp 2024 as Ramon, Kayla, and Will continues. 615-737-1045. Whole crew in studio. Whole crew next week will be at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park.
Let's go. Starting Tuesday.
Live from Titans Training Camp. Can't wait.
What are the odds that Ramon comes to the studio?
One of those days, maybe.
I'm be real. Yeah.
I'm just being
one or two of those days.
What are the odds he finds the facility? Oh, that's the bigger
have
question.
they opened up the roads yet?
We'll look forward to Ramon being at the most recent golf course we broadcasted from while Kayla and I are at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. Ramon's like, wait, today's not Gaylord?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? I brought my club.
Straight up, man.
Goodness.
I mean, goodness. I know the way now. It's just a
Right.
matter of what destination we are. If y'all see me come in at 5:59, it's like I went to the studio.
Know. Yeah.
Probably come in here and choke Bird out. How about that? Yeah, I still owe him to scare him.
That's true.
You scare me every day, buddy.
Don't do that.
615-737-1045. Before we get to a Titans conversation on receivers, let's go to the phones where Paul is in Franklin. Good morning, Paul.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning,
What's
Paul.
up? What, you double dipping here? You're going in the chat too, Paul.
I am. I'm checking y'all out this morning.
That's my guy.
Anyway, it's great to be alive and be in Tennessee. Let me tell you something. I got two quick things. Kayla, I'm going to agree with you about something. I got to give Kirby Smart a shout-out about something I watched yesterday on SC Media Days. And, I'm a Tennessee fan. I ain't got no love for Georgia, but there was a Texas media guy that got up and said that how does Georgia he feel about Georgia coming to Austin and playing at Austin and blah, 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 blah. And he was kind of being arrogant about it. And I'm going to tell you what, old Kirby shut him down,
Yeah.
Will. He just said, look, no disrespect, but this is the SEC. We do this all the time. There ain't nothing special. And it's kind of, man, he was cold-hearted about it, a big ragu, and the Texas man shut down. He just let him know that, hey, you know what? I know Austin is probably tough and Norman's tough, but, man, it ain't nothing like what we used to. Y'all better get ready for real big man football in the SEC. And my last comment is about singers singing drunk. I went to a famous concert one time in Nashville, and it was Hank Williams Jr. I went and watched him. I was about 20 years old. And that was when Hank Jr. was wild back in them days. I mean, Morgan Wallen and them think, hey, wow, they can jump Hank Jr.'s pocket. And he come out on stage with a quart of Jack Daniel's whiskey and got to singing a few of his songs. He wouldn't sing all of his old songs, and he'd quit and sang another, and we got to booing him. And he picked up the Jack Daniels and chugged it down and shot us all a bird and walked off stage.
At least he took a cue.
That's just my comment. Hey, I appreciate y'all every day. God bless you. Go Vols, tighten up.
Yes,
There we
sir.
go,
Thanks,
Paul.
Paul in Franklin.
That's my
A
guy.
king.
Paul bringing it again like he always does.
He made the
my
first
guy.
one, but he did not make the second show. That's for the Hank Williams
Oh,
fans.
straight up.
Oh.
And a time where we didn't have camera phones like that,
I
huh?
know.
He'd have got bashed big times. Mm-hmm. And here we are left with Paul to tell us about it.
At least it wasn't the national anthem.
Well, if you want to hear a more recent one, he did an interview with, I believe it was Bobby Bones, and talked about, he's like, I can't smoke my cigar in here. It was like a couple years ago. He is a character, man. If
goodness.
you've never heard him outside of the music, he is an absolute character.
Yeah.
Great impression.
That's really good.
Aggressive. Okay.
It's just him naturally.
615-737-1045. Guys, Brandon Ayuk wants a trade. Sources telling ESPN's Adam Schefter other teams have reached out to the 49ers and have been told the team has no intention of trading him. We have gotten everything from Brandon Ayuk posting pictures of Washington Commanders practice film in an attempt to play with his former quarterback, Jaden Daniels, when they shared the field together at Arizona State before Daniels ultimately transferred to LSU and, of course, won a Heisman Trophy. But 26 years old, Brandon Ayuk is set to make $14.1 million in the fifth and final year of his rookie contract this year. First and foremost, is Brandon Ayuk going to be traded before the season starts?
With him, I think, there's been no commitment from the team the way Cincinnati and T. Higgins have committed to one another. I think this one's going to be a little bit more messy than the other transactions that have happened this offseason as far as franchise tags and wide receivers. I think it's probably best for them to probably let him out. I think they can survive it a little bit better than others too because of their offensive head coach, Kyle Shanahan, and just the team they have built around him anyway. He does, account for over 1,000 yards the last couple of years, so that's a missing piece. But him and Juwan ain't the same player. Juwan Jennings aren't the same type of player. But I think their playmaking ability, what they have with Debo and McCaffrey and just everybody else that they have surrounding them is good enough to survive and exit if they have to move on from him.
I just think if it would have happened, it would have happened by now because this has been an ongoing saga for Brandon Ayuk and the 49ers. We have known and we have talked about this very situation that he's wanted a trade and now they're coming out and actually saying he has said he wants to trade. We've been talking about this for like 5-6 months, I feel like, and nothing has happened. And now they've come out again and said, we aren't looking to trade him. I mean, he's in a way, I feel like he's going to be unhappy no matter what if he stays there. Whether or not he's on the field or not, he clearly is not happy there. And I just don't know if the Niners are going to let him out. And so I will say, just to be opposite of you this morning, Ramon, because I do feel like there's always a chance for him to be gone.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to happen this year.
But they also have a plan in place. Bert, what you got for us?
No, you're good. I think it's a cautionary tale, too, whether he gets traded or does not get traded. I don't know if you guys remember the last guy who wanted to go play with his college quarterback, goes by the name of Devontae Adams. Right now, you are on a Super Bowl quality roster, a place where you can win the Super Bowl right now.
Sure.
Like you're an odds-on favorite to go all the way to the Super Bowl. So if you want to go to the Commanders or the Steelers, a place where it's probably not as likely, just look at Devontae Adams. He was in Green Bay. He was with Aaron Rodgers, had a great quarterback. Then he goes to the Raiders, wants to play with Derek Carr. Derek Carr's out after a year. He only gets to play with his college quarterback 1 year. So it's not always, let me get over here. Well, what happens once you get over there?
Great point.
So it's two things I have from that. One, they drafted Ricky Pearsall in the first round this past year. He's a player that can make similar plays for him. He ran a 4.4, 4.3, if I'm not mistaken. Also,
similarly versatile and the things that he can do. Yeah.
And the worst thing that Brandon Ayuk could have done, Bert, to your point, is say where you want to go. Stop. They're going to send this butt to Green Bay. They're going to send this butt.
Galveston.
Oh, my gosh.
Jeez,
Big old women.
As Charles Barkley would say.
I mean, they got the beaches.
Don't do that. Like, they'll send them to New England before they send them to play in Washington, right? Like, that is the silliest thing he could have did. Is there a football team in Idaho? Because that's
there was not a professional football team.
Go Vandals.
You
go
can
play
go
the
to Idaho
Kibbie
State or Idaho.
But what I'm saying is, they're not going to give him his request to go to Washington and be buddy with his friend. I'd send him to Carolina if I was anything, man.
Yeah.
It's interesting because the Commanders are also run by former 49ers executive Adam Peters. Mm-hmm. So there's not only the quarterback connection. Washington has an executive who was on staff in San Francisco with John Lynch, with Kyle Shanahan, that obviously evaluated Ayuk the first time around. 26 years old, Ayuk. I don't think there's any way they trade him. I think he's playing. I think this is Deebo Samuel 2.0. Do you remember the day when Deebo Samuel signed his extension in 2022?
I feel like it was early July.
Was it?
Late July.
It was late July.
July 31st, to be exact.
It's coming up here.
3-year deal worth $73.5 million.
Yeah.
Okay.
Robbie Gould also requested a trade. I know he's a kicker, but still. Signed a 4-year extension July 15th, 2019. You look at the way they handled Bosa. The 49ers do their business late in the summer with their own. And they gave themselves a little bit of leverage by drafting Ricky Pearsall and also bolstering a group of skill position players that I think is the best of any team in the NFL. He's not going anywhere.
You don't see it?
No.
I just think the headache ain't worth it.
I think Higgins is gone next year. I think Ayuk gets a long-term deal and stays. The team has all the leverage here. I mean, the guy's value as a free agent is gone if he just simply doesn't play. it's not a tag situation at this point because he does have the fifth-year option, so final year of his rookie contract. So the timeline is different from the Bengals and T. Higgins. But again, like the team always has the leverage in situations like this. Every single time. The team is the one that has much less to lose. And they got Ricky Pearsall. I mean, they've got Deebo Samuel, Ricky Pearsall, and Jawan Jennings.
Can I ask a random question? This is just something that popped in my head in terms of a player's perspective. With Brandon Ayuk being a guy who has been complaining about, wanting to trade or getting out of San Francisco for several months now, as a teammate, when these situations happen, and this is a pretty elite level of it because it's been happening, it's not been a secret. If he comes back in that locker room and plays this year, is that just like bygones be bygones? It's not even a thing? Or do teammates kind of give him a little crap? I'm curious if you had ever been in that situation or heard about a player in a situation like this where you kind of, in a way, are saying you don't want to be a part of that team. And I know part of it is because they know he needs to leverage himself. But at the same time, this has been pretty extreme with how he's gone about it.
Here's the thing about the locker room. As soon as you walk in, you're part of it.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's a suspension, contract situation, a holdout. We going to joke and laugh about it. But as far as the dudes that are capable of doing this, though, that's the other thing, too. Like, the backup center and guard or the third DN ain't got that type of flex. We will laugh at them. It's like, you held out. Like, we had a dude in the spring. I'll never forget. I cannot say his name on here. We had a dude in the spring that said he wasn't going to show up for OTAs in minicamp. And we looked like, bro, you're the third middle linebacker. You don't have the flex. I will say we did joke him about it, but the dudes that do these types of holdouts, your franchise tag guys, your new contract big players, no, when they walk in, it's like, hey, come on, man, we need
what a
you.
show! Wait,
we need
what a show you put on!
Anything.
Great job!
Yeah, and it's full support because business is business with this type of stuff too. So it's a matter of, all right, get caught up. Have you been working out? Don't have any soft tissue injuries and stuff like that. And most time dudes are still working out because they ain't got nothing else to do.
Sure.
So no, the locker room doesn't really bat an eye to stuff like that.
So let's go shopping for 2025 Tennessee Titans. Brandon Ayuk, T. Higgins, DeAndre Hopkins. How important is a DeAndre Hopkins contract extension at this point of the offseason when you have veteran options that appear to be available to you this time next year? Maybe not this time next year, but meaning next offseason as well. Where does that priority for you in terms of all the moves the Titans could still make between now and week 1 against the Chicago Bears? How important is a DeAndre Hopkins extension considering the other options out there?
How important is it? I don't think it's as important. Because here's the other thing, though, too, and it's no diss, it's no nothing, but Father Time eventually catches up. It's a matter of balancing his pay for the future of this team. Because, again, I think we all can agree this team is still building. Like, this isn't a finished product of how good this team as a collective can be. And if you overspend at certain positions because you feel like there's a need because production was there and you don't look at the age, like, I think that's one thing that we have to consider, too, is I mean, with the way the Titans have said they're going to collect data on guys, the GPS and stuff like that, and Chad Brinker going to the Kellogg School of Business at Northwestern, like, they understand how to build and craft teams. Like, you got a guy in that building, and Chad Brinker, who also was at a place in Green Bay when they decided to draft Jordan Love, right? And everybody thought they were stupid, and they benefited from it.
Sure.
Aaron Rodgers went out to get 2 more MVPs, right? But they were planning for the future. I think that's the balance that you're going to have now moving forward. Also with Rand, understanding, like, if to me, between those 3, Anthony Robinson, Chad Brinker, and Rand Carthon, you have guys that can ping pong ideas off one another, how to really build a team for it to be sustainable to win over the years. I don't think you find yourself in a position where you handcuff because you feel like there's a need for a guy. I think, again, if you're going to pay D-Hop, I'd much rather be a situation where you give him a bump this year and see how this season unfolds.
Yes.
D-Hop is going to be 33.
He's going to be 33 next June. He's
Next
32,
June.
just turned 32.
To me, he's shown to be a vampire. If he's capable of doing it, I give a 1-year extension. I don't know if I'm going to give high double digits to it, even though the market says, right, that he's supposed to get it. At some point, the age does catch up. Unless he proves you wrong, and you get him for a great price.
Yeah, I look at it in a similar fashion, Ramon, because I know a lot of people want to extend him just because of what he did do last year. And look, it wasn't easy. I mean, the guy was double teamed half the time, I felt like, and still was able to come up with plays and help his rookie quarterback in situations, and really helped with some growth, I think, too, with Will Levis last year. But you're right. I mean, 32 years old, we're looking at a wide receiver who, also you're looking at the talent that is in that wide receiver room now in this situation. We don't know how that's going to look with the distribution of the ball this year. I kind of want to see it play out. I'm okay probably with a 1-year extension if the money's fine.
Bump up and pay.
Exactly. I don't know either what DeAndre Hopkins wishes for the future. Who knows how long he wants to play? I mean, this guy is involved in a lot of things outside of football. This is a businessman. He's a smart man. And at some point, maybe football isn't, what he wants to put his time into. So I think it's also up to DeAndre Hopkins, too, on what type of deal he would take if he wants to, maybe play one more year, see how his body feels after this season. I don't think it's a must. You have to do. I don't think a multiple-year extension either is the right move.
For more context, too, Anquan Boldin's the guy I knew that played at an older age. At 34, he got over 1,000 yards again. 33, he got over 1,100 with the 49ers also. In those last 2 years of his, one more in San Francisco, 789, and then 2016 in Detroit, he got 584 yards. He's capable of doing it, but at what cost?
Yeah.
I'm not denying D-Hop that he's that good. He can be that productive the way he take care of himself and stuff like that. I'll say this too, Kayla, on what he wants to do, as long as they're dishing out checks, I think he'll collect
of course,
one.
Of course.
Definitely.
What's a number you'd have to get in order to be okay with a DeAndre Hopkins extension? Per year.
Per year?
Yep.
At his age, I probably 8.5 to 9 for the role that you're going to be asking him to play.
For 1 year.
I think if it's considering Calvin is here, you're probably going to draft a guy next year. You have to at some point. First or second round, I think you have to go get a receiver.
Correct.
Because of the age of this team and figuring out what Traylon's going to do. I think if he can hold D-Hop, if D-Hop can be productive about 800 yards a year, I think 8.5, maybe 9 with what the market is now is probably good enough for a guy that's going to get less reps, less wear and tear on his body, and just be productive in the leader.
Give me 8 years. $8 million.
Wow.
Give me 8 years, baby. I mean, this guy is Benjamin
41.
Button. All right, he's going backwards. No, give me $8 million. And the reason why I say this, too, is there also has to be a market for DeAndre Hopkins, right? And you look at what he was already having some difficulties at the point when he was leaving Arizona to get to where he wanted to be. And he was kind of specific about it. So look at the market, too. Who would actually want him with the age? I think the Titans is a really good spot for him.
I'd give him up to 12.
Wow.
I would give DeAndre Hopkins a year with base of 10 up to 12. I mean, right now, his base salary is $8.2 million with a $4.4 million roster bonus, $250K workout bonus. The cash is up to $14 million right now. DeAndre Hopkins has not taken half of the money he's getting now just for 1 year. I think 8 is too low. I think you start him at $10 million and say, DeAndre, you earned it. And clearly you have a good relationship with our quarterback. For me, maybe it's just the batter Titan syndrome. This franchise has gotten receiver wrong so much in my lifetime that it's like you finally get one who is good, who is consistent, who is a major resource for your quarterback. Don't then just immediately let him go just because he's a little bit older. The production has not dipped at all for DeAndre Hopkins when you look at how bad that offensive line was last year and how he was the only target. He has earned $12 million by continuing to be a 1,000-yard receiver and only adding one more year onto it. I think you keep adding on a year. That being said, I'd rather have another safety if I'm picking between the two. But you can do both.
You can do both.
Considering the amount of money that would take for both. 615-737-1045. Your thoughts on a DeAndre Hopkins extension and the Titans' options at wide receiver when we come back. Plus, Josh Heupel updates the status of two important rotational players yesterday at SEC Media Days. We'll dive into that next.
If you're often feeling tired, lacking motivation and drive, gaining weight, or noticing a lack of muscle mass, these could all be signs of low testosterone. Don't wait. Look, y'all, find out. Because at Low T Center, they make it easy to get your levels checked. It's just a simple blood testing. And with their on-site lab, you get results back in about 25 minutes. And Low T Center is not a typical doctor's office. They're a physician specialized in treating low testosterone with customized treatments for each patient. The experts at Low T Center have over a decade of experience helping patients achieve life-changing results, and most health insurance is accepted for treatment. For established patients with stable T levels, they also offer a convenient physician-monitored self-inject treatment plan that ships directly to your home each month without the need to come in for the weekly visits. And at Low T Center, your BMI and health can also be evaluated for treatment with prescription weight loss medication. So get back to your best. Go to lowtcenter.com to book your appointment today. That's lowtcenter.com. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
Rolling along through the end of the first half. Ramon, Kayla, and Will, RKW 1045, The Zone. 615-737-1045. How you join us, how you contribute to our big conversation. Do you extend DeAndre Hopkins or do you continue to survey your options? Brandon Ayuk, T. Higgins, draft pick. Before we get to this Josh Heupel update yesterday, I'm curious, who do you like more, T. Higgins or Brandon Ayuk? Two good receivers.
I like Ayuk better.
Why is that?
Because of his speed, his ability to be flexible up the middle, and also down the sideline, too. I like his quick shiftiness, his ability to get the ball and go. I love tall wide receivers. I think T. Higgins was 6'2", 6'3", but he also somewhat exposed in a sense. I think he's more of a 2 than a 1 in certain situations. And I think Ayuk, if Rand was to make a magical call to the 49ers and give up a 1 for next year, or 2 2s, whatever you want to do, right? If they got 2s left, I forget now. But you have the ability to be I'm talking about multifaceted. You also extend Traylon's lifeline, I think, by not making him a number 1 wide receiver if he doesn't have that year, or if he just, I think at this point he might just be a nice compliment to the 1. And that ain't a bad thing. Heck, we've seen T. Higgins get over 1,000 yards. We see right now Deebo Samuels and Brandon Ayuk both get over 1,000 yards. I just think you put a guy at a 1 position that might actually be good at a 1 position.
Yeah, I mean, this guy I think is underrated, honestly, as a wide receiver. And I think the most things we've been talking about lately is just his wanting to get out of San Francisco. But in all seriousness, he is really talented. You described all the traits there. Great route runner as well. And it is interesting if you are in the Titans position and let's say that you were presented with an opportunity to pick one. Realistically, you look at both of these guys, they both have ties. To, why they might sign with the Tennessee Titans. Brandon Ayuk with obviously the Rand Carthon tie when he was with management and the 49ers. And then T. Higgins with his direct connection with Brian Callahan, now the coach with the Tennessee Titans. Like Tyler Boyd coming here, kind of knows the offense already, feels comfortable from the jump. You would probably assume T. Higgins would feel the same way. The language already known, the relationship already there. So it would be a really actually difficult choice probably to make. But I would say Brandon Ayuk overall talent-wise, oh, by the way, around the same ages, 25 and 26. Brandon Ayuk has a little bit of the upper hand there with the talent.
Take it big. They're both incredible. They're both really good 2s who will be 1s wherever they go next. T. Higgins, I think, is more likely to be available. No doubt. T. Higgins will be on the market next offseason. He's not going back to Cincy.
Nope.
This is the last dance of that
long-term deal.
Bengals offense as it is currently constructed. I would argue that Higgins would be the better DeAndre Hopkins replacement here, considering what he does as a bigger, rangier receiver would be more of a like-for-like replacement if DeAndre Hopkins was not on this team in 2025. But I think Brandon Ayuk's the overall better receiver. He had 1,300 yards last year.
Yeah, impressive.
And he's dealt an offense where they move the ball around. They have a run game. He helped establish the run game because of the passing game that they have. I think he understands a little bit more. I think you look at T. Higgins, and I know Danny in the chat has been saying he'll take him over him, but here's the thing about it. I think there's more versatility with a guy like Brandon Ayuk than you get out of a guy like T. Higgins. T. Higgins is a playmaker. He's going to get his, but pecking order for myself, I'm going Ayuk then T. Higgins.
If it came down to availability, Brandon Ayuk has played in 62 games, started 60.
Yep.
On the other end, T. Higgins has played in 58 games, started 53. So a little bit more availability on Brandon Ayuk's side. But T. Higgins, the most time as he missed was last year for T. Higgins.
Injury.
615-737-1045 if you want to take your pick between Brandon Ayuk and T. Higgins. Josh Heupel talking to the media yesterday had some things to say about a couple of running backs. Going to take a look at the depth at a position where Tennessee is thin going into the upcoming season. And hear what Nick Saban had to say. Some high praise in a couple of different ways from Nick Saban, the head coach of the Vols yesterday in Dallas. We'll start the second half of the show with that next.
What's going on? 8 o'clock. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. 50 days until the first game of the 2024 NFL season as the NFL starts ramping back up, and it starts with the Broncos and standout guard Quinn Miners as they've agreed to a massive 4-year, $80 million deal, including $45 million guaranteed. Miners has a great story. His senior season was canceled at Wisconsin Whitewater due to COVID, was a late add to the Senior Bowl because Landon Dickerson got hurt, and now he is one of the highest paid guards in the league. To the 49ers, where Brandon Ayuk has formally requested a trade. Other teams that have reached out and spoken to San Francisco have been told that the 49ers have no intention of trading the disgruntled wide receiver. 49ers open training camp next week. In the past, the 49ers have had players such as Deebo Samuel, Robbie Gould request trades before reaching deals with both players. And the Titans' Week 1 opponent just locked up both its first-round picks, signing both Caleb Williams and wide receiver Rome Odunze to their rookie contracts. The Bears rookies reported to training camp yesterday. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Second half of the show and hour number 3 off and running. Grab you a pot of coffee and tune in for a couple more hours here to Ramon, Kayla, and Will. 615-737-1045, the number with Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Robert Walsh. I'm Will Bowling. In 20 minutes, more analysis from SEC Media Days. Who is set to underachieve? Who is set to overachieve in the Southeastern Conference? There are a lot of question marks, a lot of fascinating storylines, and a lot to get to. From Dallas, where 4 more teams make the rounds once again today. Alabama taking the podium at 9:05 Central Time, when Kalen DeBoer will experience talking season for the first time. Mississippi State, Florida, and Texas, the other 3 teams speaking today. Real quick, before we get to what Josh Heupel said about his running backs yesterday, I just saw on Twitter, Nashville SC, Orlando City tonight, free to watch on Apple TV. There is typically one free game every week, so you do not have to have an MLS season pass subscription to watch tonight, and listen to myself and Lucas call the game at 7:30.
Perfect.
With audio on Apple TV. Just go to Languages, hit Home Radio Audio. It'll get myself and Lucas for what I think is Nashville SC's best rivalry. Nashville and Orlando coming up tonight. So
Yeah, I've heard you say that a couple
should
times.
be fun.
Should be, Will. Man, congrats to that. That's big time right
get
there.
the dub.
Yep. Game also on FS1, but we encourage you to go to Apple
Yeah,
tonight.
no doubt.
7:30. Pregame at 7 here on The Zone. Josh Heupel talking to the media yesterday says Cam Seldon and Peyton Lewis are both doing extremely well coming off of shoulder injuries. Brett Hubbs telling us that he feels like Seldon continues to work his way back, is going to be there in late September, I think, has kind of been the timeline and the expectation from the beginning of that process. Hubbs did tell us a couple weeks ago that he feels Karn's product, Deshaun Bishop, is a strong option for Tennessee's number 2 running back spot right now. How concerned are you? The lack of depth behind Dylan Sampson on this Tennessee offense.
Running backs never bother me at all, unless we're talking about protection. I think Sampson's the protector of all of them as it pertains to the pass pro. I'm okay with where the depth is, and I think Peyton Lewis will be fine. I think Cam Seldon will, too, eventually get back into the fold. Running back, this is disrespectful to say this, but it is mostly a plug-and-play position for the most part. Like, well, what you're asking them to do, how quickly the ball comes out for this offense at times. If they're passing, I expect Dylan Sampson to be in. Again, these young guys in training camp is the only thing I worry about as far as Peyton Lewis understanding how to protect. That is the one thing that I may say about what scares me about it. But the end game, anxiety that I will have about the running backs this year, I don't have much at all, because here's the other thing too. They actually have talent. Peyton Lewis, a 4-star running back, thick kid, that also thick young man as far as his physique goes. I think he'll be fine. He's quick enough, strong enough. I think that handles itself. And the same thing goes for Cam Seldon. When we saw him in the spring, and I know it's orange versus white, but his ability to make plays, again, another tall, long, rangy type of athlete, I don't worry about this group as I worry about the backup right and left guards.
Yeah.
Like, that's low on my list of worry as it pertains to them. And I think as intense as Dylan Sampson is too, and the leader that he is.
Yeah, he is.
He
I know you've seen it firsthand.
Yeah, no,
describe the intensity part. Okay.
They follow him.
Yeah.
Like, he's
I love that.
small in stature, but like as far as lashes like Jalen, right? Like, to me, Dylan Sampson's a heartbeat of that group. And that's why I don't worry about his ability to be available for this group.
He's a Louisiana guy.
Yeah.
So
Baton Rouge guy.
That's part of it. I swear they just churn out these kind of players and the intensity of these types of players. And look, Tennessee's done a really good job at, bringing running backs here and I would say developing them. Mm-hmm. Even some of them that lead to other places, they started their development there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the Oklahoma guy.
Eric Gray.
Thank you, Eric Gray. I was drawing a blank there on the name.
Tennessee,
just because he finished at Oklahoma, he had an outstanding season that year. It doesn't mean that he didn't learn or develop any of his skills at Tennessee. Oh. I think they've been doing a really good job. That room doesn't worry me as much.
I love Cam Seldon. I'll be honest with you. I think that he is a potential superstar in this offense. And maybe it's just because I'm obsessed with the way he was scouted coming out of high school. Went back to a Rivals article, national article from a national analyst when he was committing to Tennessee. Seldon playing a role similar to what Deebo Samuel does for the San Francisco 49ers was the description. A guy that has outstanding catching ability. He is a receiver. He's also 6'2", 210. And he ran 10.7 100-meter dash in high school. I think getting him healthy will unlock so much in this Tennessee offense, because the mismatch you have in a turbo tempo offense of being able to move him out to wide receiver mid-drive and take advantage of, you get a team in a nickel set, you get a team in a 3-4 base set, or whatever it may be. Teams aren't in base 3-4 sets against Tennessee because they know they're not going to be able to get more defensive backs on the field. But the point still is that you could put Cam Seldon out at wide receiver mid-drive and then move him back to running back and get a nickel corner isolated on him, get a safety isolated on him, get a linebacker on him. So that is, to me, the really exciting thing about Cam Seldon is you essentially have one guy that can play two positions and not allow the defense until they fake an injury to substitute to match up against him. In the meantime, though, I do think it's a little bit of a worry because you don't have a lot of scholarship help behind Dylan Sampson. If Peyton Lewis and Cam Seldon continue to still work their way back from injuries, you're looking now at Deshaun Bishop and Khalifa Keith, a young guy who I think is going to step in and be kind of the power bruiser back in that room, which is something they've needed. But this staff reportedly loves Peyton Lewis, a very quick guy who I think is kind of next up in that Dylan Sampson role of he's going to be the third running back this year. He's going to slowly earn more and more and more opportunities as he earns the trust of the coaching staff. But fascinating position for Tennessee this year, no doubt, because they got a legitimate dude in Dylan Sampson leading the way.
Yeah, Ron in the chat said
Ron.
Cam.
Who's Ron?
Savage. Ron
Slay.
That's right.
I know he's a fan of Seldon too. He said Cam is a creator player.
No
Right?
question.
Like Build-A-Bear, but
He
creative
is,
player.
he is a dude in the making that I think once he gets an extended run in this team, whether it's this season or next, whatever it happens, I think that guy has NFL potential based off of his versatility.
I think you have a James Pierce type of marketing moving forward if he does what we think he does. The thing about Peyton Lewis to me too is from his high school tape. He's yet to play a college rep, but he has the ability to hit the corner and go. I think that's where the Vols took advantage of Jalen Wright last year. And one, if you spread this offense out, keep the offense spread out in defense too, you got gaps there. If these dudes up front can stay healthy for 85% of the games this year, and most importantly in big games, then again, I want to have a conversation at some point with Coach Nick Saban. I don't know who's going to facilitate that for me.
Are you going to try to get him on here?
But here's the
It's
thing.
easier now than it used to be.
Here's the thing, though, is I want to know what got you through the threshold, because Alabama wasn't what it was when he got there. I mean, Kirby taking on Georgia, right? Like, Les Miles taking on LSU. Like, getting the talent is huge. But what did you do to break through winning those big games, and how did you go about it? Those are the questions I want to see Coach Heupel be able to answer, or show us the answers to moving forward, that the great ones have become really good. Yeah, talent is one thing.
Right.
But how did you go about beating Georgia? How did you go about beating LSU? What shifted the mindset of your guys? Because most SEC teams got really good talent, right? Like, to me, having Peyton Lewis be able to hit the corner, and Cam Seldon and Nico, let's just name them three. If they can be what we think they are, is that what it's going to take to have you beat Georgia or have you beat Alabama consistently? Yeah. What is the method to getting to that point of greatness?
Yeah, and greatness and consistency. I mean, to do it like Nick Saban did with that program almost year in and year out, that is so difficult in this conference to do. It's difficult, let alone the conference. I mean, that's a great question. I'd be really interested to see where that moment was when Nick Saban knew, when he took over Alabama, that this was going to be a thing he could make a steady train.
That'll lead into my underachieve conversation later, too.
Perfect. Nick Saban telling Josh Heupel yesterday, you're probably one of the few coaches that are not so pleased I retired, since you guys put 52 on us. I love it.
So
great.
It bothered him.
Nick Saban told Josh Heupel the 2022 Vols receiving unit was one of the most dynamic groups he has seen to fit the mold of an offense. He then asked Josh Heupel, how does this group compare? Josh Heupel says this is the deepest Tennessee has ever been under his leadership at wide receiver and tight end. Bold.
Big.
That.
He wouldn't say it. I don't feel like he'd say it unless he really meant it.
Yeah, and he's got to be transparent with what he does. Here's the other thing, though, too. We hadn't talked much about the tight ends. I think they're both finally healthy. Yeah. Well, the ones that are projected to be starters
Holden Stays and Ethan Davis.
And that's the other side of this thing, too. How much production do we get from, and I love Warren. What's his first name?
Jacob Warren?
Jacob. I love him. But what was the production?
Didn't get enough production out of him.
Didn't get enough.
And I don't think that was his fault. I don't think they targeted him enough.
I'm with you on that one.
I like Holden Stays.
Yeah.
Notre Dame transfer coming in at tight end. He was highly sought after, no doubt about it. Quick Twitter question for us. Robert's got a Titans question. Says, before you move on to more college football, would you rather have T. Higgins and Brandon Ayuk and Traylon Burks all on 3-year contracts together, or your current situation? So again, asks, would you rather have T. Higgins, Brandon Ayuk, and Traylon Burks on 3-year deals, or the current situation? I'd rather have the current situation, because I have Calvin Ridley in the current situation.
Please current. That's what I'd say.
I'd say current, too. I hate to not have great radio and oppose y'all.
No, but I mean, if you're asking our honest opinion.
Yeah, my honest opinion, I'd much rather have this.
I'd rather have Ridley, and I'd rather not have Burks be my 3.
And that's what I said. I just don't know about Burks. I can't have those unknowns.
I'm not signing up for a 3-year deal for him. Not right now.
I got a feeling we're going to hear from Ron Sleff. We keep
We might, but and that rightfully so. He is his guy.
615-737-1045. Who will overachieve and underachieve in the SEC this upcoming fall? We'll tell you next.
I've been happy with
Hour number 3 on your Wednesday morning edition of Ramon, Kayla, and Will. We'll get back to Titans discussion with Rhett Bryan coming up at 9:20 this morning. 615-737-1045. How you join us? Who is set to overachieve and underachieve in the Southeastern Conference this season? There will be someone who surprises us, a la Missouri in 2023. There will be someone who disappoints us, like Texas A&M in 2023. Who is the team? Let's start with the negative. Get the bad news out of the way first. Who is underachieving in 2024?
I could start there. And I think LSU, when we say, LSU in terms of football, it's an automatic, like they're going to be in the mix no matter what. And I get it. It's a big time program who has found a lot of success, that has recently won a college football championship. But Brian Kelly, when he took this job, knew exactly what he was getting himself into and knew that the expectation would be nothing less than winning another national championship. And this is a race in the SEC to be the best and to get up there with the Kirby Smarts, because Kirby Smart is now going to maybe become the next Nick Saban in terms of the consistency and the winning at that level. And Brian Kelly better figure it out fast in terms of starting to compete at that level year in and year out, because that is what is expected of this LSU program. And last year, you saw the offense. It was the best offense statistically in college football with Jaden Daniels and the wide receiver duo that they had there. But unfortunately, those guys are gone. And now you are going to have to replace all of that and kind of pick up from where you left off last year offensively. And Garrett Nussmeier, who is now the quarterback for the LSU Tigers, we heard him on 3HL a couple days ago, nice young man. He's got a lot of pressure on him. And I know him and Joe Sloan, the offensive coordinator, have a great relationship, and he's waited in the wings to take over this spot. But that doesn't take away from the amount of pressure that's going to be put on him. And so the offensive line will do its part because it's one of the best in the country. But there is still a lot of pressure of this offense to succeed at that level, because when you look on the other end of things, guys, the defense is a bit of a problem still. The defense is unproven still. No. You can't go through an SEC schedule with the types of quarterbacks that are in the SEC without being able to shut down some of these quarterbacks. And to my knowledge, coverage is not the greatest thing in terms of the defense. And it's not so much like they've improved the secondary greatly. That is a much unproven commodity. You look at the schedule, there's some difficult teams. I know USC is out of conference, but they start the year with USC. And you go to Vegas with a defense that you don't know what they're going to do against. You know what a USC offense is under Lincoln Riley, right?
Right.
They're going to put up points. I mean, I could even see early on at Carolina. Like, I don't know, maybe since it's at Carolina and you're still trying to figure things out defensively, and then you have Ole Miss, Texas A&M, Alabama, Florida, Oklahoma. Those are the schools that stood out to me. And while they have some of those ones that are the big knocks, the big guys at home, it's still a team to me that could underachieve.
Yeah.
They're interesting because I think Blake Baker is going to fix that defense. The same way he did with Missouri last season. Blake Baker is now, he did with Missouri last season. I mean, in one season, Missouri went from one of the worst defenses in the SEC to one of the best defenses in the SEC. Granted, they had NFL talent on that defense, and Ennis Rakestraw and Chris Adams-Drain on their defensive line. They had NFL players everywhere, but you look at the staff that Brian Kelly has brought together. He fired the entire defensive staff after last season. Tavondre Sweat's old defensive line coach, Bo Davis at Texas, is now there. They got a lot of production to replace on the defensive line. Make no mistake about it. It's not an easy task, and I don't think they're going to have the kind of jump that Missouri did. But 2 years ago, this was a number 9 defense in the country by one metric. And it is wild to see how bad they were against the pass. They were 118th in college football against the pass last season. I think you're going to get the best out of Harold Perkins, though, in that defense. And you did not see him utilized in the way that he should have been used last season under defensive coordinator Matt House. So LSU, I think, is a very, very, very interesting team. I think you're right to say that for sure, especially when you consider they get Ole Miss at home and they get Alabama at home. And those two games could change the entire trajectory of the CFP in 2024. I think Blake Baker's a stud.
Yeah, offensively too. I just don't know who Garrett Nussmeier is. I know in fill-in time and everything, he's been okay. But I want to know, like, what is he going to be from start to finish? And by the way, if he gets hurt, which nobody wants to see, the backup situation is a little bit shaky in my eyes.
Fair enough.
Yeah, fair enough.
Ramon, who is underachieving?
Underachieving this year? Please don't take me as a hater.
Oh, boy.
Alabama.
Okay.
Okay. And it's for these reasons right here. Following up a legendary coach is hard. But here's the thing that they have going for them, too. I'm going to give a little bit of contrast to it also. They've recruited well. The best players, specifically offensive linemen from Washington, they pull. They got them on the starting lineup and everything, right? But here's the thing about Kalen DeBoer, to me, handling this plethora of talent in a new conference, and also to his players also, right? There's one thing to have all that talent and have a good bit of established players that have been there under Coach Nick Saban too. But the idea of a new voice, new standards, guys will potentially, if they're not governed correctly, let certain stuff slide that they never will with Coach Saban. Because there's the thing too, you have to have an idea. You have to have the ability to get respect from your players too. And if certain guys can get away with certain things, which they never did under Coach Saban, how can you wrangle all of that in? Those are the issues that I somewhat have with Alabama having a little bit of an underachieving year. Now here's the thing about it too. It ain't just the voice that's coming out of Coach Kalen DeBoer. He's won everywhere. He's done everything you needed him to. He's had a transfer quarterback, made him into a Heisman candidate. He's done all the things that you needed. I think the offense will be there, but here's where it gets sticky to me. One, new conference. It's not the conference that he played in last year. Defensively, he will have his hands full with trying to defend those guys, even though he's got the Jimmys and Joes. But as it pertains to USF, and I'm going to get it right this time, Alex Golesh.
There you go.
At USF, right? That offense, if Coach Saban is bringing it up in his press conference with Coach Heupel, that lets you know what kind of headache that offense is with a guy that hadn't seen this offense before or defended against it, right? And then, of course, the way USF played them last year, and I know Jalen Milroe didn't play the game at all, if I'm not mistaken, because of suspension. Because why? The voice of that team and Coach Nick Saban said, something went on with y'all quarterback, and because of that, he's not going to play in this game. I don't know what it was, but he didn't play. But those are the standards that I mean as far as what Coach Saban had, as opposed to an equally good coach as far as his record and as far as his track record goes. But the voice, it's just like, all right, I respect all my uncles, right? But if my granddaddy say something, it's a whole lot different, right? And that's the only contingency that I have this year as far as the newness that he has. But here's the other thing I just mentioned, the USF game. If that offense is what we think it is, and if you give Golesh a second time around, even in Tuscaloosa at a night game, it's a 6:00 game, I think there is some oomph that he's going to have to at least press them. And with that being said, they got to go to Madison. Also, Georgia coming into town, right? You have that aspect of it too. Got to go to Tennessee. Plays Missouri. I don't know what Missouri's going to turn into.
We just know they have a good schedule.
The talking heads are saying that they're supposed to be good because of transfer portal and what they did last year. They got to go to LSU, and there's no time set for this one. I got a feeling it's going to be a night game. And then, of course, going to Oklahoma and finishing with what's the head coach, Hugh Freeze at Auburn. Rivalries at the end of the year. To me, I'm looking at the schedule. Now, again, the games they're supposed to win, they win. I think they absolutely do. I don't think Auburn's a cakewalk this year, considering what their coach can do with Hugh Freeze. I think going to Oklahoma will be challenging because they got a defensive-minded coach and their head coach. LSU is always weird. Tennessee will be
skip
weird.
Over Mercer? What the heck, man? Come on.
Mercer.
See, this is how they always got into the national championship.
Georgia. Come on, let's go.
I know that's your team.
Go Bears.
No, absolutely not, man. But the Georgia game now, what's underachieving? 9-3?
So if we're going based off of what their Vegas win total is, their win total is 9.5. So winning 9 games would be underachieving, yes.
Yes. So 9 games, 9 and 3. And there's 3 in there of the 5, maybe 6 teams that are really going to compete against. I don't think they lose to USF.
Right.
No.
But
I don't either.
It might be more challenging considering what happened last year and considering you also have Alex Golesh that probably has the quarterback that you want. The offense is probably more understood, and there's more balance to when they got to see each other.
Heck, I mean, even at Wisconsin is not an easy feat on
Never.
a very improved roster that Luke Fickell has in Madison.
I agree.
This year. Before I give you my underachieve, Ramon, I'm going to continue the Bama conversation because I think they overachieve.
Okay.
I think Alabama is better than people think. I think people are sounding the alarm bells too quickly on a roster that is still very, very good. And among returning Power 5 quarterbacks from last season, Jalen Milroe has the highest quarterback rating. Did so with one of the worst offensive lines in college football. You get Caden Proctor back. You have an improved group there. You don't have Seth McLaughlin anymore. The bad snap on the last play that everyone wants to point to. He is now at Ohio State. Tyler Booker is there. Starting guard Jaden Roberts is back. And Parker Brailsford is the Washington transfer as well, who is rated the number 2 interior offensive lineman in the transfer portal this past offseason. I just really think Jalen Milroe has turned a major corner, and he's got 5 former top 100 recruits to throw it to at wide receiver. Surely these wide receivers step up and become Alabama receivers again, unlike last season where there just wasn't really that dude. I think they lose to Tennessee. I do think they lose at Knoxville this year, and maybe at LSU. Maybe. But I think Alabama is still a 10-win team and in the college football playoff.
Oh, we're forgetting about Georgia?
Georgia plays them in Tuscaloosa.
Go ho.
Is Georgia not the best team in the SEC?
In Tuscaloosa?
Wow.
It doesn't matter if you're the best team in the SEC
Well,
sometimes.
Texas went there and won.
I know they did, but in Tuscaloosa, I'll believe it when I see it.
And
I'm with you. I feel you on that, but I'm check marking Georgia on that one too.
I feel like too a lot of this does revolve around, Jalen Milroe too. And really, can you get the best out of Jalen Milroe? Is this the guy, like I've said time and time again, that you're going to see every week be his best? Not where he's going to get benched because maybe there was something he was complaining. I mean, there was a lot of stuff that went on with him last year. When he was good, he was good.
Yeah.
But when he wasn't, that was a liability.
Yeah.
He finished the season phenomenally last year.
Yeah, he did.
And he's got a quarterback-friendly system and head coach in place now. Maybe it's just my battered Vol syndrome that I just always assume Bama's going to be world beaters, and I'm willing to admit that. But I think we are giving the eulogy of Alabama too quickly. I do think all your points are valid, though, to be fair.
I don't think, I didn't mean for it to be a eulogy. I just want to give context.
I don't think you are making it that way.
I think they've done it right, though. They got the right coach for it. It is a matter of
Like, what
voice.
else are you going to do? Nick Saban was going to retire at some point, right?
Who's been a good legacy? I'll give you
He's
answers.
young, too. He's got plenty of
What do you mean,
years.
good legacy?
To follow up a legacy coach.
Yeah, I mean, Ryan Day has followed up well after Urban Meyer.
Yep.
Lincoln Riley
at Oklahoma
Spurrier
for sure.
after Holtz. But how good was it?
And
it was
that's
short-lived.
a separate set of expectations, though.
Yeah.
Expectations are just so low at Carolina. Quickly, my underachieving team is Missouri. They got too many question marks for me on defense.
Okay.
They are replacing a ton of production. The same year, they also replace now the highest paid defensive coordinator in college football in DC, Blake Baker. So you lose your 3 best defensive backs, your best linebacker, your best edge rusher, and 3 of your 4 starting interior linemen on defense last year for Missouri. There are major question marks. Cody Schrader is not there anymore at running back. They got a couple transfers who are going to come in and I think be good on that offense. But this is the challenge when you have a head coach who is so sided towards one side of the ball. It's the thing Nick Saban did better than anybody else in the history of the sport. He always had the next man up for his coordinator positions.
He did.
I don't know if Eli Drinkwitz has the next man up in Corey Batoon, who is South Alabama's defensive coordinator last season. They're going to continue running the 4-2-5. He is a 3-3-5 guy, but Drinkwitz says they're going to stay in the 4-2-5 base that they've run over the last 2 seasons. Way too many questions. I know the schedule is easy. I think South Carolina loses at A&M, at Alabama, and at South Carolina. Maybe a sneaky one at home to Arkansas. I think Missouri is a 3 or 4 loss team this season, and they only play one of the 6 best teams in the SEC, but I think they'll underachieve.
Yeah, and real quick, I was going to pick them too, but the schedule, I was going back and forth, and it is such a cakewalk. It's hard for me to pick them, but those are valid reasons, and I think that's a lot for Eli Drinkwitz to have to come back and say, okay, we're doing it again. The consistency thing of being a good head coach in the SEC is much more than a year.
I have that list of coaches too, by the way, too. Initial first year is pretty solid. Ohio State, Woody Hayes, Earl Bruce. Third year, he went 6-4-1. Florida State, I think the best one of them all is Bobby Bowden and Jimbo Fisher at Florida State. That was solid. Nice passing of the baton. Nebraska, Tom Osborne and Frank Solich. Oklahoma, Barry Switzer to Gary Gibbs. It's a few in here, but the one, Southern USC, Pete Carroll to Lane Kiffin. It's hit or miss on him. Steve Sperry to Ron Zook at Florida. Vince Dooley to Ray Goff at Georgia.
Loved Ron Zook. Big fan of his work.
Big fan of his work, man.
I'm sure
Who
he did.
else will overachieve?
Tennessee, baby. And I'm not just saying that. I honestly do think they will. I have that much belief in Josh Heupel, the way he's developing this, the culture he's created. I love Nico Iamaleava. I think he is going to be a stud. And that's where I have to have belief that they might overachieve.
Mine is Arkansas. I think Sam Pittman's on the line. I think they make the right hire as far as Bobby Petrino goes, and here's why. The Boise State transfer, Taylor Green, 6'5". Will said his speed is out of this world. That's
It's
right
90
up.
speed on NCAA.
That's right up Bobby Petrino's alley, okay? 6'5", can throw it and can also run it. Also when you look at the old Bobby Petrino offenses, which my brother played in at Louisville, they always have a big bruising running back, and they have one in another transfer, Jaquindon Jackson, 6'2", 230. I think they got him 215 or something like that right now. But they have that. Gradually gotten better each year. Last year, 795 yards. Here's what you're going to get. A high up-tempo, smart offense from a team that's been very incompetent with their offense as of late, with protections, with the quarterback play, and I love KJ. KJ Jefferson's solid, and he saved them more times than not. But now you get a guy that can actually call it for an offense with a running back and also with a quarterback that can sling it and also run the football. O-line, I think, is a Sam Pittman thing. They're going to be fine in that department. So the offense, to me, is where. And they also got a stud of a DN. I'm missing his name right now, but they got the guy with no eyebrows. I think he has alopecia.
Oh, yeah.
No, but he came out as a 5-star.
Landon Jackson.
Yeah.
Landon Jackson.
First
yes.
team All-SEC last year.
Yes. So they have the places in part. I got them overachieving. Now, over and under, what is it, like 5-6 games?
5.5.
Yeah, I got them overachieving.
Yeah.
Okay. Back against the wall. Sam Pittman.
Yeah, it has to be, right?
Schedule for Arkansas. They get Arkansas Pine Bluff week 1. They go to Oklahoma State
Ooh, Gundy.
week 2. Match up with Ollie Gordon. UAB. Trent Dilfer comes to town.
Yeah.
They go to Auburn. They get A&M in their yearly game in Jerry's World. And then they host Tennessee October 5th. I think that's a sneaky, difficult game for Tennessee because you have Florida and Alabama the next 2 weeks after you get Arkansas. Interesting the way the Arkansas schedule sets up because they're off week on October 12th. Then they play 3 games and they're off again. But that 3-game stretch of LSU at Mississippi State and Ole Miss, an interesting one. They have to win at Mississippi State. That is a must-win game if Arkansas is going to overachieve this year. They finished the year with Texas, Louisiana Tech, and at Missouri.
Okay.
Interesting team.
Bowl eligible.
No doubt. 615-737-1045 is our number. ESPN.com has written X Factors for college football's top 25 teams in 2024. Do we agree with their X Factor for the Vols moving forward into 2024? We'll have that for you next.
It's Ramon Foster here for Wesley Mortgage. Man, when you speak about Wesley Mortgage, you got to speak about the owner, man. That's Chuck McDowell. He's a local Nashville native, and he cares about this community and is proud to serve it. Chuck, he reinvests in the people in the place that make Nashville such a wonderful place. While other mortgage companies are downsizing, Chuck McDowell and the Wesley Mortgage team, guess what? They're rapidly expanding in Nashville. If you've been inside of Nissan Stadium, you can see that because they're inside of there, okay? And they love to have you join their team. Chuck and the leadership team at Wesley Mortgage have a support system in place to help you succeed in the mortgage business, ensuring your loans close on time, making sure you get paid, and giving you back the time to build your business and bring back the fun to the mortgage profession. With unique networking opportunities that I just told you about it with the Tennessee Titans and also the Music City Grand Prix, they make closing deals and building relationships fun again. So if you're in the mortgage industry and you're tired of the grind, just tired of the pressure and tired of micromanaging everything to make sure your clients get handled correctly, then you owe it to yourself to go to whywesley.com.
Ramon, Kayla, and Will, RKW wraps up hour number 3 this morning on 104.5 The Zone. Rhett Bryan on deck in just about a half hour. Your phone calls throughout the rest of the show as well. 615-737-1045. If I asked you for an X factor on the 2024 Tennessee Volunteers roster, Ramon, I'll start with you. Who would you say is the Tennessee X factor this year?
Tennessee X factor on this roster for the Titans?
Vols.
X factor. Arian Carter.
Oh.
Whoa.
Good
I
answer.
know Keenan Pili is the pick.
The pride of Smyrna, Tennessee.
Yeah, Arian Carter for this reason. He gets it. I hate to compare him to this dude. It reminds me of Mayo.
Wears the same number.
I mean, he gets in, get his feet wet, has a surgery. I think Mayo had a surgery not so soon after that. Understands it, smart enough, quick enough, physical enough. I see that type of play from him. I know Keelan's getting the praise, but the guy that I'm picking to be the X factor to me is Arian Carter because of that physicality and speed.
Interesting.
I mean, mine's going to be the obvious one because I do feel like if this is going to be an offense that they get back to when they had a Hendon Hooker, type of quarterback, I think that's what Nico Iamaleava has to be. And I'm not saying he has to be a spectacular guy in year one, but I think he has to be good enough and better than what a Joe Milton was to elevate this offense. So that, to me, if you're going to be one of the better teams in the SEC and make the pact, I am all over the place this morning. The SEC,
It's like that.
The SEC, one of the top teams, and the tournament, you've got to have him be a pretty dang good quarterback this year.
I honestly, take your pick of any of the corners. If Tennessee can't cover anything in the pass game, they're going to have a rough season. I think Ricky Gibson is probably my answer on a young corner who is going to step up from a true freshman to a sophomore season and have to cover guys' best receivers week in and week out. I would go Ricky Gibson on defense. I think it's Chris Brazzell on offense, the Tulane transfer who comes in as the outside deep threat wide receiver. Opposite of Brew McCoy, Squirrel White in the slot, Dante Thornton, who I think we believe is a slot receiver, who is, in my opinion, Tennessee's 4th receiver this year. I think Chris Brazzell, if he is a dude on offense, Tennessee gets significantly better because there are still question marks about who Nico Iamaleava is throwing to this season. I mean, I think we know what we have in Holden Stays, the tight end coming in from Notre Dame. I think you like a lot of the returning production on the offensive line. I don't know how Chris Brazzell will adjust to SEC play. I can tell you one thing, though. That staff loves him. And I think a lot of people in Knoxville are excited about the way Chris Brazzell is going to compete and going to contribute to that offense this season.
Sophomore, right?
Yes.
He's transferring into
Got a couple years of contractual control, Chris Brazzell, as we would say in pro sports.
I will say it's going to be new for me to understand what young corners look like, considering the talent. Like I've seen other universities have, they got a corner. Alabama always got a corner. And Ricky Gibson, to your point, if he's who we think he is, right? Like I want to see what that secondary, can they develop high draft picks at the secondary, at the corner position.
Yeah.
Right.
And so Ricky Gibson starting with him would be huge.
Take your pick on any of those DBs. I mean, Jordan Thomas, you can throw in there. Heck, Boo Carter can be an X factor on that defense. Freshman out of Chattanooga and Bradley Central. Genuinely take your pick of any of them, and I'm cool with it. I thought Mark Schlabach of ESPN.com had a good answer. He says Bryson Eason. I know that is a guy you have heard some very good things about, Ramon Foster.
High praise from Bryson Eason.
The pride of Memphis.
Oh, my gosh. So last year was a tester for him, I feel like. Not a whole lot is what you expect. If I'm not mistaken, I think he was a little injured or banged up.
And real quick, he moved to defensive line from inside linebacker. So this is a guy that's totally changed positions and has put on a ton of weight.
Yeah, I've heard the talent is through the roof. I've heard first-round talent for Bryson Eason.
That is very high praise.
Yeah.
Very, very high praise. Interesting. So
I can't wait to see it.
It makes my heart happy talking this much college football, I'll be honest with you.
And Omar Norman, right?
Omar Norman.
Put on 15 pounds this offseason too. I think he's like teetering at 6 foot, 6'1". That 15 pounds was good for him.
Listed on ESPN.com at 6'3".
He's
You never
6'3"?
Okay.
He must be next to Big O all the time then. Jeez. He looks smaller, but he's bigger now, though.
Yeah, UTsports.com on Omar Norman Lot has him 6'3", 315.
Okay.
Okay.
Big dude.
Yeah.
Anyway, college football's back. Talking
Soon.
season. I love it.
I do too.
Living vicariously through 3HL out in Dallas.
the way-
615-737-1045. Go ahead.
I was going to say, you'd be proud of Patrick Mahomes. He brought a TV for 2 reasons. Can you guess them real quick?
Playing the game.
NCAA football and NCAA football.
NCAA football and the Olympics. So that's all he want to do.
okay.
What do you mean,
Good for it.
Mahomes?
Patrick
Yeah.
Mahomes, they
Training camp?
reported yesterday, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Yeah. He said he brought
Wow.
a TV for 2 things only. NCAA
That's great.
football and the Olympics.
I wonder if we're
love
going to
it.
see a lot of that in Titans locker room. We'll find out
Better
soon.
believe
Oh,
it.
yeah.
We'll find out soon.
NFL headlines when we come back. The big news in the NFL out of the NFC West. We'll give you our thoughts on Brandon Ayuk and the 49ers coming up next.
9:01. What's going on? Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. 50 days until the first game of the 2024 NFL season. As the NFL ramps back up, we'll start with the Broncos and standout guard Quinn Miners, as they have both agreed to terms on a massive 4-year, $80 million deal, including $45 million guaranteed. And he's got a great story. Glad the guy got paid, because his senior season at Wisconsin Whitewater got canceled due to COVID. He was a late ad, wasn't even invited to the Senior Bowl. Landon Dickerson had to get hurt for this guy to get invited to the Senior Bowl, and now he is one of the highest paid guards in the league. To the 49ers, where Brandon Ayuk has formally requested a trade. Other teams that have reached out and spoken to San Francisco have been told that the 49ers have no intention of trading the disgruntled wide receiver. They open training camp next week, but in the past, the 49ers have had players such as Deebo Samuel and Robbie Gould request trades before reaching deals with both players. And the Titans' Week 1 opponent just locked up its 2 first-round picks, signing both Caleb Williams and wide receiver Rome Odunze to their rookie contracts. The Bears rookies reported a training camp yesterday. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Fourth and final hour of the show, 9 a.m., just like that in Nashville, Tennessee. Welcome into Ramon, Kayla, and Will. RKW 615-737-1045 is our number. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Will Bowling. Joined in 20 minutes by Titans Radio executive producer Rhett Bryan. At the end of the show this morning, Inky Johnson, midweek motivation on deck as SEC Media Days continues in the Lone Star State, Alabama, Mississippi State, Florida, and Texas. The 4 teams making the rounds. Elsewhere around the league, sources telling ESPN's Adam Schefter that other teams have reached out to the 49ers about a trade for Brandon Ayuk, who yesterday reportedly officially, that's a word, officially requested a trade, set to make $14.124 million in 2024. Does Brandon Ayuk play the 2024 season in San Francisco?
I said no. I still don't think he does. Be fascinating if they can get a deal done, but they have a fall plan in place already. So especially if they can get more talent. I think they're at that spot too real quick to where they got to get a left tackle of the future moving forward. Like Trent Williams he might play he 42. Heck, who knows? But they got to start building that back up too, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'll stick with what I said earlier in terms of I feel like this is such an ongoing thing. It's not the first time that we've heard about him wanting a trade or wanting to get out of San Francisco. He's even listed, possibly going to Washington and reuniting with his former Arizona State quarterback, Jaden Daniels. So I think it's something if it was done, it would probably have been done by now. I know deals have happened last minute in the past. I just feel like this is probably going to be one more year, at least for Ayuk here in San Francisco.
Bert, what's your gut feeling? Brandon Ayuk, staying or going?
I don't think he gets traded before the season starts. It would not surprise me to see a trade deadline, a team, maybe somebody's hurt, maybe a contender needs a piece, and they make an offer that the 49ers can't refuse. But right now, there's no incentive for the 49ers to move them off his team.
No, none whatsoever.
I like Benny outside on this one.
That's okay.
Makes me feel good.
And you might be right. And then we'll all be like, oh, Ramon was right.
Nah, we probably won't.
Yeah, never that. You're right.
Hey, he won the draft last week, okay?
Hey, I'm here for it, man. But they're going through the same situation they went through with Deebo. That's why I say he probably won't. But what do I know?
And they re-signed Deebo July 31st, 2022.
Yeah.
So 2 weeks away.
Yeah. And if I'm not mistaken, well, I heard something. I can't remember where it come from yesterday, but they was just speaking about the Deebo conversation on how bad it broke up. Well, the guy they had over on that team was the player relation. Well, the guy that has relationships with him is Rand. It's alluded to that he helped somewhat smooth that over, and kind of bring that deal in right there. So we'll see what happens.
I did not know that.
From what I heard that
interesting.
yesterday. I can't remember where it was, but that's part of the conversation.
Is it weird that I think that that Debo is more likely to be moved than Brandon? I feel like Brandon Ayuk is more likely to be on this 49ers team for the foreseeable future than Debo is.
More available than Debo Samuel, that's for sure.
More available, less mileage, less money consumed right now. You could get Debo off the team, and then you would 100% have money for Brandon Ayuk. And the skill set with Christian McCaffrey, the crossover with him and Debo, where you have a guy who can do that. You drafted Ricky Pearsall. So, like, there's a lot more layover on the Debo side than the Ayuk side if you were to get rid of one of them.
That's an interesting note.
I don't hate that.
Yeah, I don't either.
I don't hate it at all because the payday is coming quickly. There will be a payday for Brock Purdy.
Don't make me sing the song. We got to move on quick.
It'll be in your
what
head
is
the rest
it?
of the day now.
There will come a payday. You know the righteous gemstones.
Yes.
I've not watched the show, and I'm very familiar with the song.
God, it's a banger.
Yeah. Interesting.
It is.
You look like a character today from there.
I could 100% be. They're all from
Seriously.
South Carolina. I could 100%
Right?
be from Conway or something like
The
that.
hair is a thing today.
Oh, I was picking through my nappy head. All whatever happens at night, I don't know what it is. I just roll and beat, and I can't sleep good. So like I wake up and my hair is a bird's nest.
You need to get yourself what is it?
A bonnet?
Silk scarf.
Yeah.
Get you a
Yes.
silk scarf.
You let me know where do I get silk?
Amazon.
Louis Vuitton sells it.
Yeah, I bet that.
Ramon.
Stop this. You did this the other day. We were talking about Pharrell the other day, and he was like, have you seen his Louis Vuitton collection? Why would I have seen Pharrell's Louis Vuitton collection? I have trouble spelling LV. Why would I be looking
do
Louis
too.
Vuitton up?
My bad.
He found a Chanel surfboard yesterday. I'm like, what are you going to do with a Chanel
No,
surfboard?
it's
How much?
Prime Day. It's Prime Day.
3,000
It's
something.
on Prime.
No, it's on Prime.
Yes.
Amazon now has a luxury department. This
Let me
surfboard-
send this link to my mama real
The
quick.
surfboard was $32,000, Kayla.
Wait, I forgot it was 32,000. I'm sorry. I tried to make it more.
It's a decoration
affordable.
piece. Yeah, it's a decoration piece is what it was. Yeah, they got a luxury department now. You can get your girl bag on there. Kayla, go ahead and get Travis that Gucci belt. Just saying. Come on, let my man flex every once in a while, okay? Let my man flex.
You could get a Malibu rum surfboard for only $100.
I'm in.
I don't know about it.
I love
rum.
Malibu rum,
Okay.
by the way. I drank so much of that one time at Panama City Beach that I passed out on the beach.
Rum doesn't really get much play around, man.
The thought of Malibu makes my stomach turn. I hate the smell of it. Oh, God.
It did not sit well.
Only Malibu we
Terrible.
acknowledge is the one in Knoxville. You hear me? Club Malibu, baby, on the east side.
R.I.P.
Is that?
Hey,
Oh, I was
for
going to say, is
real.
that still in
For real.
session?
No, there is. I'm not calling you old,
my
Ramon.
gosh.
That's a great way to start a sentence. I'm not calling you old,
Right? But
there is maybe one bar. No, off the top of my head, 2 bars that were there when you were a student that are still standing
sure.
Give 'em
near
to me.
Cumberland Avenue.
Give 'em to
Can
me.
you guess what they are?
Cool beans?
Yes, Cool Beans, of
Oh,
course.
I've heard of that.
Cool Beans, when the world ends and Jesus comes home, Cool Beans is still going to be standing.
Yeah.
That's the Garden of Eden.
There's always one.
The first apple might have fallen from Cool Beans. Second one.
Hannah's?
Okay, I'll give you Hannah's.
Hannah's.
Yep, that's true.
Hannah's is
That's a good
still
point.
There.
Okay.
Half barrel.
Impressive.
Still there.
Half barrel.
Half barrel was my
Okay.
go-to.
Okay.
The one we
okay.
went to that's gone is Shakers.
Shakers.
Yeah, that was in the basement, and Shakers
Was it on the
the
strip or anything? Did
Oh
y'all
yeah,
have a
it
strip?
was on, it was
Y'all
on
did
the
have a
strip. The Coug is still there though. That's one that will never go.
You know how many people got suspended or got reprimanded?
Oh, I know.
At Malibu?
I get it.
Hey, that's where you met the locals and everything, and that's where it
Yeah.
became problematic.
That's
So
what
if
Shakers was.
you're looking for a way to relive your glory days, Ramon, there is a YouTube video, a 8-minute highlight video for Malibu in Knoxville. And the title screen says "Crunkest Club in Knoxville."
Yeah!
This video came out 15 years ago.
Damn
There you go.
right. You damn right, baby. Hey, I saw a girl get jumped in that one
Crunkest
time. Hey,
Let's hear it.
I've never seen it. Was Memphis versus Nashville.
Oh, yeah.
It was
Well,
Memphis versus Nashville.
sounds
The
about
girl's
right.
still here in Nashville. I would think, man, let me tell you, I've never seen a knot rise so fast on somebody's forehead. You
if
hear
you're
me?
in Nashville, call us.
No, let's go.
I would love to hear this story.
615-737-1045.
They stomped
we're
that
good.
girl out. You hear me?
We're good.
I was like, man, whoo, the boo. That's where
You lived in the glory days of the Strip.
Hey,
Man. You still had Copper Cellar. Well, I still had Copper Cellar
Yeah, Copper
also.
Cellar
But
was fine.
you had a Buffalo Wild Wings on the Strip.
Oh.
You had like a
Dang.
Chili's that was
Can I be
right
real
there.
with you too?
You had an O'Charlie's that was right
hey.
there.
I never ate wings until I went
High
to
life.
college.
Oh, okay.
Never ate
Really?
wings. No,
Calhoun's Thunder Road, baby.
I had no like it. We ate chicken. Like the
Like
wings
whole-
was
like
like,
just live
I mean
chicken?
just chicken. You know what I'm
Oh.
saying? Like
Fried
to
chicken.
go order like 20 wings never was a thing till I got to college.
You had a
Never.
farm, right?
Nah, we ain't had no farm, but it was just like we didn't order just wings. Like you gonna order a meal. I didn't know many people that order. Hey, we're gonna get wings tonight.
Wow.
Like now, going to get wings is a thing.
Oh,
I
sure.
never did that growing up.
Okay.
I ain't gonna lie. This video is awesome.
God.
This
I told you!
This looks like this play. Did you remember DJ Sturl the Pearl? Because
He still does stuff.
Dude,
old is he?
He's like the official DJ of Tennessee athletics now.
he has everybody in this place swag surfing, and they are going. It's
Up
going.
on the
Is it-
stage,
okay.
ain't it?
Yeah, I'm telling you.
Oh,
You gotta look
Was
this
he
video
there when
up.
you were there?
Oh, yeah.
yes.
Charlie
Really?
Pearl.
What?
Charlie Pearl's been around.
Is he 80?
No, he just
Oh,
he still
okay.
looks good. Caleb. No, he's the official DJ of the vault.
Yeah.
It doesn't crack.
Don't crack,
But man,
black don't
he's
crack,
been there
baby.
for that
It
long.
doesn't crack.
Good for him.
No, Caleb, you
This
ever?
place is jam
I
packed.
ain't
believe
lying.
it.
We should take a trip.
I ain't lying. The
What's
boo ain't there
what
no
was
more.
the address for it? Does it say, Bird? Like, where was it?
It was at 2514 Martin Luther King Jr.
MLK.
Avenue.
Okay, you know what you get yourself into, baby. All right, I'm telling you, man. The boo. That's where all your favorite recruits went to. Okay,
I'm gonna look on a map where
The
this is.
BOO?
No, BU Malibu is the club.
Oh, the boo. You call it the
that's
boo.
when we was buying
The
bottles
Malibu's
of Grey
the full name.
Goose. You hear
Gotcha.
me?
Okay.
Shout out to All Star.
I'm looking through this grainy ass
Oh, you were
video
out there a
to
little
try
bit.
to find Ramon.
This was not on
I
campus.
might have been in there. I'm telling you.
That's great.
This is what college is for. y'all.
Now I want to go back. Like now you're bringing back all these memories.
It's sad to me that I have now been out of college as long as I was, or longer than I was in college. That's
just
that one
wait.
hurt.
Just wait.
5 years ago.
Just wait.
Crazy.
That's your fault graduating too quick.
Yeah, I know.
Best 6 years of my life.
You still looking at the idiot?
615-737-1045. It's not getting better than that. Coming up, Rhett Bryan joins us. We're going to talk some Titans. We're going to talk some NFC North as we continue our divisional previews with the Shield coming up. Rolling through our number 4 of your Wednesday morning, the fourth quarter of the show on RKW. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Will Bowling, joined in studio by the executive producer of Titans Radio to the sounds of Steely Dan. He is Rhett Bryan.
The late Walter Becker and Donald Fagen.
That's right.
Nice.
Oh, man.
My mom loved Steely Dan, or loves Steely Dan.
I've seen them twice, and they're amazing. Just their band. And
Absolutely.
And you talk about studio rats. People talk about gym rats or whatever, studio rats. They just perfectionists. And they would get the best musicians to play instruments on all their recordings. It was amazing.
I love it. Talking a little bit of NFC North this morning. Going to look at a division that the Titans will see in 2024. Of course, starting in week 1 against the Chicago Bears. Before we get to that, though, Rhett, we've been talking a little bit about the wide receiver position here. And DeAndre Hopkins, the extend or not to extend moving forward into this season. Where are you on that, and what kind of thought process will need to go into that decision for Rand Carthon when it comes to maybe locking up DeAndre Hopkins beyond just 2024?
Well, are we talking about doing it now before camp? Is that what we're okay? I mean, listen, I don't hate the idea. I mean, it's DeAndre Hopkins, but DeAndre Hopkins is also 31 years old. So there's got to be a mesh point somewhere of happiness there. Comes down to the age-old question of what's it going to cost me? They have the money to and here's the thing. Let's back up a second.
Sure.
So they've added Jamal Adams on a very friendly deal. I would think that they're going to find another piece or two between now and camp and maybe even in camp. And then obviously as veterans are released through training camp cuts from other places, that final 53 is not necessarily going to be the 53 that rolls out of the tunnel in Chicago in week 1. So knowing that they have money to play with, so to speak, outside of just the operational stuff with injuries and the like during the season, I mean, you could do it. And the other part is you got a huge dead cap number lifted after this year. You're going to have a bunch of money in 2025. Yeah. So, you could do it if you wanted to. You really could. And again, DeAndre, first of all, the receiver is incredible. The person I think is even better. I really like DeAndre. But yeah, go for it. I mean, if you can see, look, here's the other part of it. Will Levis is obviously one of the key catalyst things as to whether this thing is successful or not. And those two got some good chemistry going pretty early on last year, and I certainly don't anticipate anything but them building off of that in 2024. So I would think if you polled a guy named Will Levis, he'd probably say, hey, man, do it.
Sure.
Do it.
Yeah, sure.
And it is amazing that even with the age in that wide receiver room, the Titans are the 7th youngest team in the NFL right now. And it really feels like DeAndre is one of those few older guys who has been consistent, who has done it in a Titans uniform. To your point, in 2025, they are right in the middle of the league. They would have about $40 million to spend next offseason, and that's without getting rid of some guys who likely will not be back, who will be on the roster this year.
Right, and if you take out, you said we're the 7th youngest team in the league.
That's right.
Jeez. You take away the bulk of the free agent acquisition wide receivers, and it's an even lower number because with Ridley being 30, D-Hop being 31, and then I believe Tyler Boyd will be 30 in the later on in the season, in the middle of the season.
Yep.
Plus, Big Jeff is in year 6, so you've got some couple of guys that are aging, but yeah, it's a really young roster when you think about the bulk of it.
Yeah. Well, Rhett, in the NFC North, a division the Titans will see this season, there is the youngest team in the NFL. The Green Bay Packers are the youngest team in the National Football League, and life without Aaron Rodgers is starting to treat them rather well. I think that Jordan Love's progression this season into a potential star is one of the most fascinating storylines in the NFL moving forward into the fall.
Jordan Love is certainly, he may be the story of that division despite the Detroit Lions coming off of a conference championship game appearance, which, they never hadn't been in not in the modern NFL.
Yeah.
Even Brett Favre. I mean, when was the last time? Well,
For Detroit?
Detroit. No, I'm talking about, I was thinking about Minnesota. Never mind. Detroit?
We're talking about back when Lem Barney and Dick Knight Train Lane and, Dick LeBeau were I mean, it's a long, long time ago.
Yeah.
Again, I say not in the modern NFL. I mean,
you meant that.
1970 forward merger of AFL NFL. To your point about Jordan Love being the big deal in all of this, after the Packers started 3-6, he threw 14 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, and Jordan Love, he found his groove. He really did. Green Bay went to a 5-2 mark down the stretch while throwing 18 touchdowns to only 1 interception from a weeks 11 to 18. Wow. So, I mean, and Christian Watson continues to, he's a young buck and continues to improve. And then they did some things in free agency that helps them too. First of all, in the draft, they took Marshawn Lloyd because, Aaron Jones is now within the division, with the Minnesota Vikings we're going to discuss.
He's the new man on the Minnesota Vikings.
But they got Josh Jacobs.
Oh, boy. Is that back?
That was good right there. That was good.
They got Josh Jacobs in free agency.
That's right.
They signed probably one of the top defensive backs in Xavier McKinney to bring that in. And then they drafted Marshawn Lloyd. So, they've got some pieces in place. And again, it goes back to what we were saying with the Titans. If you've got a quarterback, you can do a lot of things.
Yeah.
You really can.
What's crazy about this Green Bay squad, too, a guy that I thought held way higher. Now, again, we're talking about pick 255 for Green Bay. Kalen King was projected as a top 2-3 round guy and fell to the 7 out of Penn State. Remember, it was a conversation.
We interviewed him.
Handsy. Yeah,
we interviewed him at
one of 11
Senior Bowl.
draft picks the Packers made this year.
11.
Yeah, see,
That
and
is
that's the
wild.
other is
Yeah.
you could tell they needed to stock the cupboards with some things because they didn't trade off any of those. They made all 11
Yeah.
picks.
They did. And
So-
4 DBs out of this group, too.
Yep.
I mean, goodness gracious.
Javon
they
Bullard,
stacked
Evan
up.
Williams, Kalen King, and Keaton Oladapo.
Yeah, Kitano Oladapo from Oregon State.
go.
Yeah, we saw him at Senior Bowl. Big, long dude.
But that lets you know where some of the deficiencies are. But as Will said, week 1, going to Chicago, playing against this new division with all those weapons that Chicago has, right? Not what you expect to see, but what kind of challenge is this for this Tennessee Titans team with a new outfit defensively, with a group of guys, man, that has some veteran presence on the field at the wide receiver position. Not only that, free agency went after a running back too. They've somewhat, it's not foolproof with what they've done with Caleb Williams, but they put some fences around him, Rhett.
They have done much like what Rand Carthon has done for Will Levis in trying to set him up for success. And it's funny, we'd be talking about this because, just yesterday, Caleb Williams and Roma Dunze both, agreed to their deals, and they're in, I think yesterday was when rookies reported for them.
Right.
But, so yeah, you're right. They bring in Keenan Allen at wide receiver to help. They bring in Ryan Bates through a trade with the Bills to play at center. Matt Pryor, the tackle from the 49ers. Gerald Everett, a veteran tight end from the Chargers, to help him out. And then, of course, they signed running back DeAndre Swift to kind of help all that out. Here's one of the key things that gets lost in the shuffle when we're talking about the Bears, and we'll certainly be talking about this week 1. Yeah. Right before the trade deadline, they traded for edge rusher Montez Sweat. Chicago's defense down the stretch allowed 17.2 points per game, the fewest in the NFL, netted them 5 wins out of their last 8 games. And so, yeah, that's huge when you can, get a guy who can make a difference on defense like that.
And I think the biggest question still is, though, is Matt Eberflus the guy for the job? I mean, you still got Chicago people, Chicago fans being like, look, we're not even confident, though, that this guy is the dude to lead the way.
Yeah. Well, and that's why, it's such an interesting dynamic because the onus is on a rookie quarterback and a top pick rookie wide receiver to go with some vets. And Let's not forget Kevin Byard is now there in the backfield,
Right.
in the back third of that defense.
You think he bounces back a little from maybe?
I certainly hope so.
Yeah.
I certainly hope so because I don't think there's any question how much we all like and appreciate KB.
Sure.
Especially with the window of time he was brought in here and how much success that the Titans had, and just a great dude, right? But yeah. This is an interesting. You're right. Chicago Bears fans, they're not convinced that Matt Eberflus is the guy, and I certainly understand why with what they've been through. But let me tell you, when they brought in GM Ryan Poles, that dude has been wheeling and dealing, man. That guy, I mean, just the stuff he's pulled off in these trades and things. He's, again, set things up for success. So the onus is on Matt Eberflus.
And the big addition they made is Torrey Taylor, the punter out of Iowa. That's the big news.
Baby.
Heck yeah.
The busiest punter in college football history last season.
Let's go. Seriously. For the amount of times they didn't score.
I love that, man. What's fascinating about Ryan Poles, though, is anytime they show him on TV, I feel like he get highlighted all the time.
Football guy.
Football guy. He's always just leaning back with his hands in his, palm in his hands or whatever. Look like he's always working. Anytime they see him and he see himself, he immediately gets up and try to move around. Like he's like Dr. Evil with how he's going about this thing.
Yeah, he's wringing his hands like the mad scientist. That's right. The evil laugh.
But they got some dudes on there. They've been stacking up for a while. You mentioned that, Rhett. They got a couple. Andrew Billings, I played against him. Montez Sweat. They got DeMarcus Walker there. The young cat out of Florida that was drafted a couple years ago. I had his name here just a second.
What position?
D tackle. Javon Dexter.
Yeah, there you go.
They got high hopes for him.
Jervon, Gervon.
I think he's supposed to have been a potential first rounder. And slipped a little bit. He had that NIL situation that he had to sue them folks with.
That's right.
Yeah, but he's going to be nice. This isn't a cakewalk week one.
No.
With all the newness that they
no.
have. But I expect that same attacking defense to show Caleb Williams, hey, welcome to the NFL, young brother.
You heard that, Jeff.
and not just that, because good Lord, you could speak on this all day. But week one matchups, you've had all off season to be working on this. Each other.
Yep. 100%.
Titans and Bears. And then, yes, the acquisition period pieces from both the draft and free agency. Yeah. So, no, it's not going to be – it's a road game.
Yeah.
Right.
And they give something to Bears fans to cheer about early, and it could be rough early on.
It could, and to your point, that's the other thing about that week one. Most time there isn't film as a team. So you're really somewhat guessing on what you're going to do, how you're going to do it too, and that need to not know, the need to know what Caleb Williams is capable of with the squad. Not many people show you much in the preseason anymore. So we don't know what his steps look like, what makes him roll out of the pocket. So it is, I think the first two quarters of that first game against the Bears, we're talking about the NFC North right now, it's going to be watch and see to the second half.
Yeah.
And conversely, they don't know exactly what this Titans offense is going to look like and what this Denard Wilson-led defense is going to completely look like, because this is some different territory, especially the offensive side.
When it comes to the Detroit Lions, Rhett, previewing the NFC North now, what is it in terms of the pressure on this team to win it all this year? Is that fair to say with what they have reached so far and just, the roster when you look at it overall?
You could say that, but this is Detroit, who hasn't, they hadn't won a playoff game since 1991 with Wade and Fonts back in the day with Barry Sanders back in the glory day. So they're the fan base that tasted success. I was so happy to see that fan base get what they got, but they're kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop. They really are. So I think the big thing in all of this is that Ben Johnson, after getting lots of head coaching interviews as the OC, stays there. And then they get busy. Brad Holmes, the general manager, gets busy and signs extensions for quarterback Jared Goff. Amon-Ra St. Brown gets a big deal. Penei Sewell gets a big deal. So those are pillars that, they've built this thing around. The thing is, can they keep up with the output offensively that they did? Because you think about this. They had just a tick over 27 points per game, fifth best in the NFL. You score 27 points a game, you're going to win a lot of ball games.
Definitely.
So I didn't realize this until I started looking to study for this. But, they're just the second team in the NFL in NFL history to have 4 players with 10 or more total touchdowns from scrimmage. and that was the 2013 Broncos with Peyton Manning is who had those things before. So Amon-Ra St. Brown had 10. Rookie tight end Sam Laporta had 10.
That's right.
David Montgomery had 13. Jahmyr Gibbs had 11. And that's the thing is they've got that backfield to help with all. I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs was fantastic as a rookie. No surprise. And David Montgomery is the perfect, complementary thumper back to go with that. But what they did is one of the big reasons I think they're going to improve a little bit on the other side of the ball is what they did on defense. They brought in DJ Reader, and that guy's, his quarterback pressure rate is a big dude up in the middle. I think it's 11.5% quarterback pressure rate, third in the NFL
Very strong.
last season. And then they used their first 2 picks on the secondary. So they took Terry and Arnold, one of the better cornerbacks, if not the best cornerback in this draft, and then Ennis Rakestraw Jr. from Missouri. So they're going to trot some rooks out there against the likes of the rest of this division.
And LSU defensive tackle Mekhi Wingo, along with DJ Reader, being coached by former Titans D-line coach Terrell Williams.
There you go.
There it is, Coach T.
A perfect fit. Rhett, November 17th, the Minnesota Vikings will come to town. And the connection between Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, the general manager in Minnesota, and Titans GM Rand Carthon clearly is a close one. And Rand references Kwesi quite a bit because of the time they spent together in San Francisco under John Lynch's leadership with the 49ers. 2 first-round picks on this team in J.J. McCarthy and Alabama edge rusher Dallas Turner, who we know Ramon Foster is a big fan of. And Turner specifically, but they add Aaron Jones, they add Robert Tonyan, Jonathan Grenard, an outside linebacker, essentially traded from Houston with Danielle Hunter. Houston gets Danielle Hunter in free agency. They get Grenard in free agency. There are a ton of outgoings and incomings for the Minnesota Vikings who will look very different this season.
Well, let's start with the defensive side of things and with what you've outlined right there. And I got nothing against Danielle Hunter, but I think they did a serious upgrade with Jonathan Grenard. Okay. I really do. And the reason I say that, Minnesota had the league's 13th best scoring defense, 21.3 points per game allowed, despite having issues with the pass rush. So that's why they drafted Dallas Turner. They picked up Jonathan Grenard in free agency in this. Their pressure rate for quarterback against a quarterback needed to improve. So they made what they needed to make on that. The biggest thing is the offensive side of this. Obviously, Kirk Cousins goes to Atlanta. We didn't see that after they just, done quarterback. So anyway, but Kevin O'Connell, the head coach, has already been on record saying that Sam Darnold will be the guy that will start in training camp in this. When does J.J. McCarthy catch up? How does all that work? Because Sam Darnold is now on his, 18th team?
Yeah,
whatever it is.
Pretty much.
And then, they improved their backfield dramatically, too, because and I like Alexander Madison. He ended up going to the Raiders.
Yep.
One of the better backup running backs in the league.
100%.
But getting Aaron Jones from your division opponent in the Packers, I think that's big. I really do.
They got Cam Akers, too, on this roster, along with former Vol, Ty Chandler. If he's still there.
That's right.
And Cam Akers is coming off an ACL, I think, right?
Yeah.
But I think he's ahead of schedule.
He was in L.A., right?
He's around.
More purple and yellow.
Yeah.
For Cam Akers. Tennessee legend Will Reichard, Alabama kicker.
There you go.
Draft pick as well. Thank you for your service on October 15th, 2022.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate it. Exactly. Love your efforts, or lack of.
I love it. Our Wednesday visits with Rhett Bryan continue, and we will be at Tennessee Titans training camp.
As Creed Bratton once said to Jim Halpert, came behind him with the creepy shoulder massage and said, "One more week."
Yes.
Before Pam came back from art school. That's where we are, because this time next week, Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. And by the way, the weather looks much better than.
Love it.
Now, I think there's
80s?
some. Yeah, I think there's a chance of storms and preset,
sure.
but not 99, which I'm like, yes, thank you. I hear Angel singing.
Yes.
But
not the Toto song 99.
I've been happy.
And I just love how Brian's talking when he's screaming over
Those are
that
the
every
Angels
time.
singing.
I love looking at other teams with Rhett, of course, because as much as you guys study the draft on Titans Radio, that being the lifeblood of the league. You're an expert on all 32 teams. So I will brag on you in that, like, the knowledge that we've got is amazing on the whole league based off the draft coverage.
You're very kind. Checks in the mail, but as my
but I'm excited to talk Titans next week.
As my old assistant scoutmaster would say, X is a has-been that spurts water under pressure. I don't know that I'm an expert, but I am now. I'm now entering. I'm in my junior year in the CMSOB, the Coach Mack School of Ball.
Absolutely.
So, I'm just trying to learn from the master.
We'll plan you a good graduation party next year after your senior year. Rhett Bryan, weekly here on RKW.
Senior trip.
Yes.
We will see you on the practice field next week, Rhett. Can't wait.
Hell yeah, go America.
Yes.
Love it.
Thanks, Rhett.
Coming up, midweek motivation with Inky Johnson to wrap up the show. Hey, what's going on? It's Will Bowling from my friends at Brentwood Hearing Center. Do you have hearing loss or maybe even wear hearing aids, but you don't want to be around water? You're at the lake, you're in the pool, maybe you're headed down to the beach in the ocean, but you are fearful of water damage to your hearing aids. You're hanging out at the pool, but you can't hear the person at the chair next to you. Maybe you're just doing yard work. The sweat, the moisture, the humidity. Well, Brentwood Hearing Center, they have got the technology for you. They've got hearing devices that are waterproof. That's right. Hearing aid wearers can now enjoy being around water while wearing their hearing aids, enjoying all those sounds of friends and family this summer. Go there and check out the Phonak Lumity Life, the world's only hearing aid that is completely waterproof. They can get that for you at Brentwood Hearing Center, the best place to go to take care of your hearing needs for you, for a family member. Remember this phone number, 615-377-0420. You can learn more about the Lumity Life or visit them online at BrentwoodHearingCenter.com to learn more. That's Brentwood Hearing Center. Better hearing, better life. Wrapping up the show on your Wednesday morning, Ramon, Kayla, and Will, RKW, Inky Johnson, and Midweek Motivation is on deck. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Will Bowling. I am 2 episodes away from finishing season 2 of The Bear.
You like it so far?
I like it. It is not... I'll wait until I'm done with the season to give a full opinion because it's been a little different.
Yes, it has. It has been.
A lot more profiling characters, which is cool. Like the cinematography of it is fantastic. And the music choices they make and the acting, like it as a show, it holds up. Mm-hmm. But there's less of a, I don't think I'm spoiling anything by saying this. There's less of a plot to me until the end. But that's also kind of just the way they've always done it. So, it's very different from season 2, but I do like it.
Yeah, and season 4 was shot the same time, so 4 will come out sooner than later.
So they're doing character profiles, you said?
Yeah.
I think
they're setting up for a big finish.
The Wire did that. Like season, I think 3 was like the docs and everything. I think Sopranos did a character profile year.
Yeah.
I hate when they do that, but I know at the end there's a payoff coming.
100%.
Yeah.
I know.
It's kind of the Netflix formula now. Like if you think about Orange is the New Black, like any of those shows where they have like a lot of characters, it's like, okay, this season, like XXX, like if you're trying to figure out episodes to get out, be like, okay, this can be so-and-so's profile, this can be so-and-so's profile. And while it's annoying, sometimes the things that happen in those minor episodes mean a lot maybe at the end of it. So it's just about who cares at the end of the day, you know what I mean?
I appreciate them in hindsight.
Yeah, when it's all said and done, for sure.
I am still just anxiously awaiting, speaking of Netflix original shows, the final season of Stranger Things. Have you guys seen the report that every episode is basically a movie?
No kidding.
It's like they're making 8 movies.
Like an hour something long?
Oh, I would say longer than that.
Dang.
Like the last 2 episodes of season 4 were like an hour and a half. I want to say the last episode was a 2-hour episode of Stranger Things. Like I think every episode is like that.
That is wild. Millie Bobby Brown is 20.
Yeah, I know.
That is wild to think about.
Now it's not a bad thing when Drake hits her up.
I know.
He's allowed to hit her up.
It wasn't back in the day, though.
Oh, she's from Stranger Things.
Yeah, Millie Bobby Brown.
She's 11.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. She was 11. Yeah.
Oh.
The character's
or
11.
if you're Drake,
the character was
teens.
Teens. With that being said, I hadn't watched Stranger Things yet.
I actually have not watched it either. I just done a lot of research.
I'm missing out.
Y'all want to watch Stranger Things, but y'all don't want to play Dungeons and Dragons. How's that work? How's that work?
I don't even know what that is.
The kids that's where the big bad guy from Stranger Things comes from. Vector or whatever. He is from Dungeons and Dragons.
Only Vector I know is from Despicable Me.
I will still.
You never had to sell knives for Vector?
Say what?
Y'all never had to sell knives for Vector?
What is that?
No.
Cutco? Y'all didn't never have them?
Cutco. Yes, I have some of those knives.
So it's a scam.
I know, and I have some of those knives. I didn't buy it. My dad did.
Well, they back in college used to see signs like hiring college kids $20 an hour, and you'd go in there and it would be like, all right, go sell these knives, kid.
Yeah.
That's the only other Vector I know.
That's hilarious. By the way, it's your boy Mason Rudolph's birthday.
I saw that. Yeah. My favorite guy, man.
Your guy.
Yes, indeed.
Get to see him next week.
Yeah, I texted him a second ago. Rhett B told me about that.
Look at that.
Happy birthday to the kid.
There you go.
Don Draper.
What else y'all watching these days?
Ooh, my guilt. You know my guilt one. I've told you guys before.
Mm-hmm. I don't.
Love Island. That's my guilt one.
Okay. USA or UK?
USA right now because it's the season in season.
It is.
I am a sucker for that show.
I told y'all yesterday. I got to apologize to the crew. The off-season Hard Knocks is quality.
Yeah,
it is
I've
very
been watching
good.
That.
I've heard very good reviews of off-season Hard Knocks.
It's quality. It is. I almost turned on wide receiver, but I wasn't in the mood to start it.
You got to be in the mood.
Yeah, I wasn't in the mood to start it, so I didn't turn it on. But I am loving the Hard Knocks. They got away from the fluff.
And it's not so like much governed by the Giants because there's plenty of situations where the Giants look dumb as hell.
Yes.
Where it's like, it's like an Office moment where everyone's staring into the camera. Like, are we really that dumb? Yeah, we are.
Speaking of which, Shane Bowen is there, right?
Giants,
they were asking him questions, and you could tell he did not want to get caught on camera. He was like, I think they were talking about Burns, the DN from
Brian
town.
Burns.
They asked him, was like, what do you think? We might have him. He was like, I looked at his tape. And I was just like, he didn't want to get caught in a scouting situation.
Yeah.
It was a good exchange, though. But I think you're right. I don't think they have as much control as they used to. The teams, that is.
Are you going to watch the
AFC North one? I can't wait to watch the AFC
in game,
North
but the
one.
preseason one or the training camp.
This
sorry.
one's making me want to watch all of them now.
Wow.
I'll watch it. I just
Okay.
got to make time for Sprint on Netflix before the Olympics.
Yeah, I'll definitely get into that.
All access into the best sprinters before the U.S. just cleans up. I don't know. But they've got Keshawn Thompson's pretty good. It'll be fun. Anyway, midweek motivation. Inky Johnson wraps up our Wednesday morning. We've got ESPN's Bill Connolly tomorrow. We will have a visit with Coach Dave McGinnis tomorrow, an RKW draft. Maybe even you're not that guy. Who's to say?
Yes, I've got one that I've saved. You guys, the tab's still up on my computer.
Okay. There you go.
I'm pumped.
And right now, Inky Johnson wraps up the show, midweek motivation.